Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Wednesday. Great to be with you on this hump day. Thank you for tuning in to 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our video stream, which you can find on Facebook at WIBW News and on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. It is great to be with you on a beautiful day in the capital city. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski and Spencer Dupuis are here as well. Brendan, on the video, looks sharp.
Yeah, I hope y'all don't mind if I show up on the show today looking fresh as hell.
Call this man Ranch because he do be dressing. You have to see it. Again, the YouTube channel's 580 Sports Talk. You can tune us in on Facebook too, WIBW News. Brendan is sporting a vintage Big 8 Conference denim jacket that is an archival selection. Also has the aviators on today. Trevor says your drip goes crazy, and I'm inclined to agree.
Damn right.
I can't.
Both of you, spot on.
I can't disagree. That boy fresh as a daisy. I can't believe it.
I'm telling you, man, the aviators, they changed my life. Once I started wearing these indoors, I became cool. I became fun. I became irresistible.
He was none of those things before. The aviators.
No, not a single one of them.
It's all the sunglasses.
Now you throw the jacket on there. I was just telling you and Spencer and Britt Z before we went on the air, the single coolest look of all time, peak male form, was 2002 World Wrestling Federation, Triple H rocking a denim vest over a leather jacket. Outrageous look. This isn't quite there, but I'm damn close. This is fly.
It's a very late 80s ensemble he's got going on with like the dress shirt under the denim with some khaki pants on that match the color of the sleeves. My goodness.
Yeah, it's actually uncanny. They are the exact same color of tan.
It's something else. It's quite the look. Again, you can experience it for yourself if you watch our video stream today. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook, and if you are watching on YouTube, jump on into the live chat. We got a lot of people who are loving the look for our guy BD today. Jump on in, interact with other listeners to the show, interact with us throughout the show as well in that YouTube chat. You can also text the program, 785-272-9429. That is the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. We got a lot to talk about on Red Wednesday. We are 24 hours and change away. Let's call it 28 hours from the Kansas City Chiefs beginning their quest for something that no other team in NFL history has ever achieved, a third consecutive Super Bowl championship. We will have season predictions and a full breakdown of Chiefs-Ravens tomorrow. Today, though, we're going to predict the award winners in the National Football League. MVP, Players of the Year, Rookies of the Year, Coach of the Year. The three of us are going to predict our NFL awards. Will anybody take MVP away from Patrick Mahomes this year? Or are we already at the Jordan phase of Mahomes' career where you now look for an excuse not to give it to him? Now, last year he gave you the excuse. His receiver stunk, and he didn't put up the numbers that we're accustomed to from Mahomes. His receivers have a pulse and working sets of hands this year. If Mahomes has a Mahomesian year, can you give the MVP to anyone else? Or again, are we already at the stage that you now look for reasons not to make Patrick Mahomes the MVP?
If we're calling Patrick Mahomes Michael Jordan, who was Kadarius Toney? My thought is Scott Burrell.
Ooh, I was going to go Rusty LaRue.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That was going to be my Judd Buechler. Sorry, it's Judd Buechler.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's Judd. Yeah, it's Judd Buechler. Yes. So we'll have our NFL award predictions coming up later on the show. Lots of NFL news today as well that we'll get to in headlines. We are going to talk some Big 12 football on today's program. Reactions or overreactions? We used to have a segment on this program, overreaction, proper reaction. And we're going to bring that back a little bit today. Following week 1 of the Big 12, the dust has settled a little bit. We've had the long weekend to recover from what we saw in the first weekend of Big 12 football. Are we buying, selling, or holding stock on certain teams and players across the Big 12 conference after their week 1 performances? We'll get to that later on. We'll also talk K-State with Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com. It's our weekly Wildcat Wrap-Up. Fitz will join us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour in the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. And we've got a player profile coming up later on in the show today. Brendan and I had a chance to speak with Kansas senior wide receiver Luke Grimm at KU Media Availability earlier this week. Luke Grimm, of course, Raytown product and leading receiver after 1 week for the Jayhawks with his 6-catch, 111-yard, 1-touchdown evening in last Thursday's win over Lindenwood. Brendan and I had a chance to chat with the senior wide receiver. We'll hear from Luke Grimm in the 5 o'clock hour. And, we're going to talk about the Royals, too. They lost again. Oh, boy, it is getting real tight. It's getting this kind of tight for the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah, it's not great
right now, as they have now lost a season-high 7 consecutive games. We will take a look at last night's loss. We will look ahead to tonight's game 3 of the series. Can the Royals salvage one against the Guardians? Tonight's pitching matchup would suggest that the Royals have an advantage. It's Seth Lugo, the all-star for Kansas City. It's Ben Lively, the journeyman for Cleveland.
Royal great
Ben Lively. That's right. Royal Guardian. I bet you get a good rarity score if you fill him in on the Immaculate Grid, and if the Royals Guardian square. But again, that presumes that the Royals get the bats going, which they have not done. Christopher rightly points out that, hey, they broke their trend of only scoring 2 runs a game over the previous 4 last night. They did so by only scoring 1 run.
Yay! Boo! I got the music queued up, by the way.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, we got it ready.
Yeah, we might need it here to start the program today. Plus all of the things that you've come to know and love from a Wednesday edition of 580 Sports Talk, including One Gotta Go, a round of What Is Wrong With You, our 580 Sports Talk headlines, and more here on 580 Sports Talk this Wednesday. Christopher says, I'm not sure the Royals could hit Blake Lively right now, but she would be nicer to look at. Yeah, Blake Lively, 6 innings, a 2-hit ball. Got the curveball working.
If I speak, I will be in big trouble.
All right. Last night, the defining moment of the game was the 6th inning. And this is where the Royals have made hay all season, right? Like, they've been a great middle inning team. I think at one point, I don't know if this is still true, but I know that at one point this season, the Royals had the best 6th inning run differential of any team in baseball. They had outscored their opponent by more in the 6th inning specifically than in any other inning. And there are 2 factors there. Number one, that means your starting pitchers are going really well if you're limiting the offense, because typically the 6th inning is where you start to see guys for a 3rd time as a starting pitcher. And the Royals starting pitchers have been so good for the balance of this season that they have been able to limit lineups a 3rd time through. And the flip side of that is the Royals offense has got going against starters a 3rd time through. The 3rd time they see a guy, they time him up a little more. They start to put together innings. They put those crooked numbers up. They've been a really good middle innings team, again, for the balance of the season. And in a 2-run game in the 6th last night, the Royals load the bases with nobody out, and the 4, 5, and 6 hitters do up. And I am thinking while watching the game, after the 10-pitch walk drawn by Michael Massey, who doesn't walk, like as a matter of course, Michael Massey is not a guy who is up there typically grinding out 10-pitch at-bats that end in a free pass. So for Michael Massey to do that against Tanner Bybee, who the Royals are seeing not just for the 3rd time last night, but for the 4th time this season, that felt like the moment. I even turned to my wife. We were watching the game, and I said, this is it. Like, this is the moment. If he gets on base, talking about Massey, so if he gets on base, this is where the dam's going to burst. This is where it's going to happen for the Royals. And they loaded the bases, 4, 5, and 6 due up. Salvador Perez hits a rocket, but he hits it right at Stephen Kwan. And Tommy Pham, not a great base runner, gets a bad read, doesn't tag, doesn't score. Now, I saw some people last night saying, well, that cost the Royals a run because if he'd tagged and gone home, Bobby Witt Jr. would have tagged and gone to 3rd base. do not believe Bobby Witt Jr. was tagging on the play. Even if he was, with nobody out before the ball was put in play by Perez, I think Quan is probably throwing to third on that play. It was shallow enough. I think the throw goes into third. I don't think Bobby Witt Jr. would have advanced. I think Pham would have scored with the throw going into third. So I do not think that Pham's base running mishap, though it was dumb, it was a bad play, it was bad base running, but I do not believe it cost the Royals a run. Anyway, nobody scores on a rocket by your cleanup hitter. Bad luck. Then Paul DeJong hits one even harder. In fact, it was the hardest hit ball all of last night, according to Baseball Savant's tracking. 107.6 miles an hour after the bat. Paul DeJong doesn't try to do too much, cuts the swing down, hits a seed to left center field, and Stephen Kwan runs it down. This time, Pham is able to tag and score. Again, Witt's not tagging because he needs to score if that ball gets up the alley, so he's halfway on that one. I know that for a fact. One run comes in to score. MJ Melendez comes to bat. He strikes out, does what MJ does. And that's your inning. That big opportunity ends with just one run. Instead of tying the game, your run expectation, historically, when you load the bases with nobody out, independent of who's coming to the plate, your run expectancy in an inning like that is, I think it's like 2.2 runs, historically speaking. And that's, again, just with an average hitters coming up behind you. This is 4, 5, 6. These are supposed to be your run producers. You got to get more than 2. You got to take the lead against a tiring Tanner Bybee, who you've seen plenty of this year. That's the moment to take the lead. Instead, they go into the 7th at 2-1. And then Brian Rocchio, who is trying to bunt because he is not a good hitter, verifiably not a good hitter, can't get the bunt down. And on 2 strikes, Sam Long throws the floppiest slider you've ever seen in your life, and Rocchio runs into it, hits a home run. So instead of the Royals being tied or in the lead, now they're down 4-1, and it's ball game over, and it's time for Third Eye Blind.
It had taken a while to get there, so I turned it down. This is very emblematic. Okay, here we go.
I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
Yeah, we can't even get the sad music time right.
Cut ties with all the lies that you've been living.
Do you want a fun fact?
Yeah, how fun are we talking here?
It's not fun at all from the Royals' perspective. The hardest and the farthest hit balls last night in the game both belonged to the Royals. They were both outs. Hardest hit ball was DeJong's sac fly. Farthest hit ball was Tommy Pham hitting a rocket to straight center field that who was in center field last night? Was that Brennan or whoever it was ran it down? No, it was Schneemann. It was Schneemann in center field. And he runs it down like 389 feet from home plate. Look, it's a big outfield. Those things happen. But that's just where it is for the Royals right now, where you have the inning. You put it all together at the right time to put it together. You're down just 2. You got the bases loaded. You got good at-bats from the top of your order. The run producers are coming up. And Salvador Perez and Paul DeJong do as much of their job as they're capable of doing. They put the ball in play loudly, and it's right at Stephen Kwan each time. That's how it goes when it ain't going well. And that's where the Royals are right now. And if you watch the balance of Cleveland's at-bats compared to the Kansas City at-bats, it is very obvious which team is now taking command of the division. I told you, I know somebody who follows Cleveland very closely. I'm in a group chat with my dad and him and somebody else. And I texted the group chat when Kwan singled off of MacArthur in, I guess that would have been the 8th, to make it 7-1. And I texted, and I mean this, the central race is over. I think that was the end. I think that was the moment where I felt like Cleveland has righted the ship and they're going to win the American League Central. Now, I have been similarly declarative about the Royals making the playoffs on this show. And now I think there are a lot of folks who probably don't believe me about that declaration that I make, which for the record, I stand by. We'll get to that in a second. But I think the Central's done. I think Cleveland has done what they had to do in this series, and I think the Central's done. And I think the Royals can't worry about it one way or another anyway. Like, we can look at the standings. We can look at the playoff odds. It's our job, in part, as sports talk radio hosts, to be speculative after all. But the Royals, for their part, they just need to go, win an inning. They need to go out and get a lead. Stake Seth Lugo to an early lead. Go put some pressure on an opponent, because right now, the teams playing against the Royals, the Astros and the Guardians, the last 7 games, there has not been a lot of game pressure on those teams. They have taken the leads. They have played from ahead. They have gotten to line their bullpens up the way they have wanted to, and the Royals have not. And the Royals have been chasing, and the Royals have been trying to do too much. And that's how you get here. 7 losses in a row. And it would feel like things were slip sliding away if Detroit or Boston could win. Fortunately for the Royals, they can't. So the lead for a playoff spot remains 4.5 games with 22 games to play. You'd still rather be the Royals from that position, but you'd like to feel like they could at least win one more game between now and the end of the month.
I think we haven't we have gone over ad nauseum the flaws with the roster for the Royals, but I don't think we've used the word fragile a whole lot about this group, specifically the position players. And even though you only lost one guy, Hunter Renfroe's been on the shelf for a bit too, but you only lost the one guy in Vinny, but it is kind of incredible. And I apologize for beating a dead horse here, but that one injury to a key player, there's no doubt about it. Your third best hitter sent this into such a tailspin, because I think at this point it's pretty obvious that did something to the psyche, to the obviously actual production of this Royals team, that there's just not enough to bounce back from that. And maybe that also includes not enough, I don't want to say mental toughness, because I don't think that's fair to a group that has been very resilient over the course of the year. But that did sort of feel like, you were patching the Hoover Dam with chewed gum and it was okay. And then that was the one big crack that knocked it all loose and started the overflow. That's sort of how that one felt. And I don't want to take too much away from the Royals and how well they have played this year, but you've got to find, and this goes without saying, but you've got to find some way to stop the bleeding. I don't know if that is going to be, you need the pitching to just be untouchable for 2 or 3 days, and that's going to get everybody's mind right. I don't know if they need a 12-run game, and that's going to help everybody snap out of their funk. But you can't rely on everybody else losing to get yourself into the playoffs at this point. Boston's schedule is a challenge. Maybe not the hardest schedule in baseball, but it is a challenge without question. The Tigers' schedule is horrendously easy. Like, they are playing, I said this to you earlier today, they're playing, or last night, a college wooden bat league team or set of teams. They got the White Sox, they got the Rockies, the A's. They're playing crumb bum losers the entire rest of the way. My apologies to the folks in lower Denver. But that's all they have left for the most part, with a series against the Royals being one of the few exceptions in there. So you've got to find a way to avoid tanking this even further. All you need is one game. That is all you need to be ahead at the very end of the season. One game. I don't know what the season record is against the Tigers, so you might not even need a full game. You might just need to have the better record than them. Or same thing for Boston, although the Royals lost the season series to Boston.
Yeah, you have to be a full game better than Boston.
So you have cushion, but you only have so much time to either strengthen or keep it stagnant and keep it where it is. So
they have won the series. Christopher helping out too in the YouTube comments. They're 7-3 against Detroit, so they've won that season series already, regardless of what happens.
So you have that cushion there, at least over one of those teams. You need over the next 10 days or so. I'm not saying, you can lose 10 straight and you'll be fine. But within the next 10 days, I think this team needs to find whatever the elixir is to just get back to competency offensively, and you're going to feel fine as we enter the postseason. But I think these next, 7 to 10 days are going to go a long way into how much we believe in this team going into the postseason, whether, assuming that they do still end up making it in.
This is not just because one guy is not in the lineup either. This is not one of those things where you could point to, oh man, if it had been, and I'm not trying to speak this into existence, if it had been Bobby Witt Jr. who got hurt and the Royals immediately lost 7 straight games, you'd be like, well, yeah, that's their aircraft carrier. That's their main guy. That's their MVP candidate. That's their 9 wins above replacement superstar, irreplaceable, utterly irreplaceable. Vinny Pasquantino's .315 on base percentage is replaceable. You can get somebody to not make an out 32% of the time. Tommy Pham's done that since he came over on waivers. Pasquantino's like the 9th or 10th most valuable Royal when it comes to wins above replacement. That's not to say he's not good or valuable. It's just that this should not be the one piece that if you take it out of the Jenga tower, everything falls down. So I don't think it's as simple as saying Vinny's not around, so this lineup can't figure it out. It is an adjustment period that obviously they're not taking very well to. They've also run into some really good starting pitching over this stretch. Like Tanner Bybee's good, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's their best guy, and he's a good young starting pitcher with a good fastball. Ben Lively, a little more beatable. And I think this is a guy they have to get after tonight. This is a guy they can get after tonight, and it is just going to take one. Because right now, like, trust me, if it feels from your perspective as a fan on the couch, oh my God, are we going to ever win another game?
Mm-hmm.
That's how it feels in the clubhouse too. I guarantee it's how it feels in that clubhouse right now. So they got to get one, but they got to get one inning. They got to get one good half inning. They got to put a crooked number up on offense. They got to put together some zeros, make a good defensive play, have something like they need, if I may paraphrase Rex Hudler, they need a doinker. You know, they need a bloop.
You want to feel a break go your way.
Right. Like they needed, like in that situation last night, like Melendez hits one off the end of the bat and it dumps into left field. You score 2 runs.
Yep.
Like you just need something to break right. You need to catch a break. The Royals have not caught many of those since Vinny Pasquantino unfortunately did in his right thumb. But that's the beauty of baseball. This is not like football where you got a whole week to stew on it, right? Like you're back at it tonight. Tonight could be the night that it flips. Tonight could be the night, and that has to be the attitude in that clubhouse right now. We're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll talk some more Royals a little bit later on. Look ahead to Game 3 of that series tonight. Again, it is a 6:40 first pitch at Kauffman Stadium, and we will have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock from the Royals Baseball Network here on 580 WIBW. We're going to predict some NFL awards, talk Big 12 football following Week 1. Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, will join us later on, and we'll hear from KU senior wide receiver Luke Grimm. But first, a round of one gotta go coming your way after this first time out from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. This is 580 Sports Talk. It's one got to go time on 580 Sports Talk. I've got the bottom 4 wide receivers on the Kansas City Chiefs depth chart. You have to keep 3 of them on the roster all season. You could jettison one for a player of equal or lesser value. Those players are McCole Hardman, Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Justin Watson. One got to go.
Sky Moore, Justin Watson,
Juju and McCole.
Juju and Hardman.
This is easy for me.
Go ahead.
Sky Moore.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's adding to the team at this point.
I'd probably go with Moore instead of Hardman. I mean, I don't know that Hardman is trustworthy, but Mahomes has a modicum of trust in him, if that makes sense. Like, you know what you are getting, and you are going to get inconsistencies, but you're also getting speed, the occasional tendency to have a big play. You probably just go with what you know a little bit more than what you don't. So I'd go with Moore too, I think, Spencer.
Yeah, I kind of think that's my pick too, because at least Hardman can give you maybe some big play potential in the return game. That Moore
Hardman
can't.
already proved it for me. Like, he has another year regardless in my head because he won the Super Bowl.
This is true. He is Super Bowl hero, McCole Hardman.
He has
They
an
threw it
extra
up
year.
for him.
He
now
has,
and forever.
he's like one of those guys that, like, it's like Survivor, right? You get
The idol?
no, when you get the
I thought that's what they were called.
No.
The immunity.
immunity. Yes, he's
Okay.
immune for this year. If he doesn't do anything good this year, then he can get kicked off my island.
Sky Moore is also AFC Championship game hero Sky Moore. Let's not forget his crucial punt return and then, big touchdown in the Super Bowl later that year. He apparently burned that year of immunity
He
last
did.
year.
Yes.
That's what he did.
He had the immunity and he burned it last year. All right, well, you got to go?
Yes, I do. I'm going to give you the guys I believe are probably the 4 best quarterbacks in the Big 12. One's got to go. Avery Johnson, Jalen Daniels, Cam Rising, Noah Fafita.
I love all 4 of those guys, man.
A great
don't
league of
make me do
quarterbacks.
it. Don't make me do it. I love all 4 of those players, and I love them for different reasons.
Yeah, they all bring something different.
Yeah, I love Fafita's ability to sling it from anywhere. I love Jalen Daniels' deep touch and Cam Rising's toughness and Avery Johnson's speed. This is really a just pick your flavor kind of thing here. Like, what flavor of quarterback? Oh, I don't want to get rid of any of them. I really don't. Johnson being the least experienced,
Fair argument.
but I think he's got higher upside than Fafita. Like, I'm keeping Daniels and Rising because they're veteran guys, and in this world, I'm not worried about the injury history for either guy. I'm just right now they're healthy, so just right now in this moment, these are healthy football players. It's between Johnson and Fafita for me. I'll go with the upside, and I'll say, man, I love Noah Fafita, but like, I don't think he's giving you the multi-dimensional game that Johnson gives you,
Probably not,
or that Rising gives you.
Yep.
He's certainly a better passer than Rising. Oh God, this is hard, man. Why'd you make me do this? I don't like this. I don't like this game.
It's a good one.
It is a good one.
What would your answer be?
It'd be the same as his.
I think if you wanted, and I wanted to leave it open-ended, I think depending on how you view the question, you could answer it differently. I would keep Daniels and Fafita regardless. If you told me one game, like right now, you're putting a team together right now, you got to pick one for a quarterback, or pick 3 quarterbacks, I guess, I would leave Johnson off, I think, just because of the inexperience and just we haven't seen as much from him. If you told me, though, I'm going to give you 12 weeks, I might leave Rising out. And the only reason why, because you're right, I mean, he is tough as a $2 steak. Like, he's incredibly tough, and he is very talented. But I think we've seen what the peak for Cam Rising is. I do, and that peak's really good. It's high. I think we can see even more from Noah Fafita. I mean, we certainly can see more from Avery Johnson. And given how little he has played in his career, I don't think we've seen a long-term version of the best of Jalen Daniels either, to be
I think
honest
that's
with
true.
you.
I believe that.
So if you were going to give me a full 12-game regular season, I think I might leave off Rising just because he's the most known commodity.
Clayton in the YouTube comments says it would be Johnson for him that has to go. Joe in the YouTube says Cam Rising is about to collect AARP, so he's got to go. Get ready to learn the early bird special, Cam Rising.
Spencer, you got one?
Yes. NFC South quarterbacks, a Bryce Young coming off of a not so great rookie year with a new offensive coordinator, Derek Carr coming over from the Raiders in a weird situation as the Saints starting quarterback, Kirk Cousins, 36-year-old coming off an Achilles tear, or I guess resurgent 29-year-old Baker Mayfield. In their current situations, not like that's why I gave you a little lead up.
It's an easy one for me. I think Derek Carr's cooked. And I would not be surprised if Spencer Rattler is starting games in New Orleans by the end of the season.
Man, Spencer Rattler playing for Dennis Allen's going to quit. And I think Rattler's got plenty of gifts. It's always mostly been between the ears with him. I would go Carr as well. I believe in Bryce Young. Like I'm willing to. I know he sucked last year. He was really bad. That whole situation was awful.
I think Bryce Young's 2023 was essentially Trevor Lawrence's 2019 with Irby as his coach. 2020.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, just a lost year because you had a clueless head coach.
He doesn't have elite arm strength. He's got an average arm. I do think he's a great field. I think he's just really smart. I think he makes the right play. I think his size is going to limit him, and the fact that he doesn't have Kyler Murray's tiny, but his arm is outrageous. Bryce doesn't have that. He's more of a get in space and make the right decision quarterback. I think he can be better than Baker in a similar kind of style. Baker's more wild than I think Bryce will be. Cousins, even with the Achilles, I'll bet on the production. And we know what Derek Carr is. We've known what Derek Carr is since 2017, since he came back from the broken leg. And he's been the same guy ever since. And he's going to throw an okay deep ball, and he's going to get sacked 8 times. And if you put pressure on him in a clutch moment, you're going to lose.
Mark in the YouTube comment says, Derek Carr. That question is easy.
This might be the most anti-Derek Carr radio program.
Yeah, I almost didn't want to give that division, but I was like, that division is like a weird set of quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, it is. It very much is.
I don't mean to be, because I think Derek Carr's had a good career. I think he's had a fine career. I think at his best, his best year, he's a borderline MVP candidate. At his best, he was a good quarterback.
He was really good in 2016.
Never a tier 1 guy, or maybe even a tier 2 guy, but
he finished 3rd in MVP voting in 2016.
Yeah.
4-time Pro Bowler. He's thrown for 39,000 yards. He's had a good career.
Yeah, it's been a nice career. I think it's past him in a way that I don't necessarily think it's past Cousins. I could be wrong. Carr could be better than Cousins this year. I guess it wouldn't surprise me too much. I mean, Cousins is coming off the injury.
I think Carr's the most limited of the group.
So my take on this was Kirk, because I just think he's done. I just think that Achilles.
That's a lot to ask a 36-year-old to come back from. But again, we're all assuming that a 40-year-old is going to come back from it just fine, and that's why people are picking the Jets to go to the Super Bowl.
That is true.
Look, man, I've seen Aaron Rodgers do some impressive stuff coming off an injury, but man, if you're hitching your wagon to that, good luck.
When we come back, some reactions. Maybe they're overreactions to Week 1 of Big 12 football coming up on 580 Sports Talk. A reminder, friends, to join Prairie Band Sportsbook's free NFL Survivor Pool for your chance to win up to $25,000. It is free to enter. All you have to do is go to prairieband.chalklinegames.com/games/survivor. Enter before the season kicks off tomorrow night with the Chiefs and the Ravens. If you win the Survivor Pool, it's $5,000. Doesn't cost you a thing to enter. You win $5,000. If you win the pool, you win $25,000 if you run the table. prairieband.chalklinegames.com/games/survivor.
So we can't be in this. We can't win the money, at least. I have a winning number for you week 1. Bengals over the Panthers, the easiest win of the year.
Wow.
Easiest of the year.
Interesting.
Okay, so to that point, we have not discussed this. Are we going to do Survivor as part of our Prairie Band picks?
We should. Yeah, we always do Survivor.
Okay,
NFL Survivor.
Right.
Yeah, we always do NFL Survivor.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll
bring it back.
I never do all that well in it. Are we going to do double elimination again?
Yes, we will do. Yeah, we'll give you a lifeline.
For the sake of content.
For content's sake.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm in a Survivor league, and that was my first pick. So
okay. Probably be your first pick in our little Survivor pool, too. I have a feeling.
Love to stream the Panthers' opponent.
We'll get to that on Friday. Right now, wanted to talk a little Big 12 football. Following week 1, wanted to see where you guys were at with certain players and teams in the league. If you're buying stock, if you're selling, or if you're holding on these Big 12 players/teams. And I'll start with Avery Johnson, who had an uneven first half, performed better in the second half, completed 14 of his 21 passes, 2 touchdown passes, 1 pick. Only had 1 designed run all night in the win over UT Martin. We did not get the full Avery Johnson experience, but it was iffy in the passing game in the first half. So we buying, we selling, we holding on Avery.
I got diamond hands here. Diamond hands. We're staying with him. We're holding.
Yeah, we'll hold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see, like, unless you thought, like, I think he's going to be really good. I think he's got to be all conference good. I think he's going to be Heisman good. Like, that was a lot. Like, if you thought he was going to win the Heisman Trophy, I don't know if what you saw on Saturday made you think, oh yeah, this is definitely, I got to double down on my Heisman future with Avery Johnson.
So my question would be, if you're saying you're out, you're selling Avery Johnson, what happened in that game that made, like, what did you actually see that makes you feel like you're out on him? He threw a bad interception. It was a bad pass, bad decision. That happens. He's a young quarterback. Outside of that, what did he do to make you feel like you're no longer in on him? Other than
that's just
confirming a fan base prior.
Yeah, like, if you're hating to hate, like, I get it. But, like, we didn't see full Avery Johnson because he ran the ball as part of the offense one time.
Well, I think, too, that it's hard unless you have a P4 now opponent out of the gate. You're not opening your whole playbook.
No.
Like, that's the thing. Like unless you're playing a P5 team out of the gate, you're not opening more than the easiest part of your playbook.
And when they do get to the design run game back in, that's going to open up the passing game.
Yeah,
make some of the throws even easier, I think, for Avery. Because I think UT Martin kind of knew, look, they don't want to run him.
He has now thrown in his career 87 passes. 21 of them were this weekend. Almost a quarter of his career throws in a very short career so far came on Saturday. I'm not worried. Nothing about that game could have changed. And I mean this going both directions, too. Like, if he had really come out and stunk, whatever, I'm not worried. And if he had come out and thrown for 5 touchdowns, no picks, and was 23 of 26, I also would have been like, okay.
Well, yeah, everybody would have been saying,
UT Martin.
Yeah,
you
Martin
should beat up on this team. So nothing that happened this week would have made me feel any different.
How about West Virginia quarterback Garrett Green? Are we in or out on him after he laid an egg along with the rest of the Mountaineers on Saturday?
I'm out.
I was never in the first place, frankly.
I was in.
I thought a lot of the preseason hype was really strange for a guy who completed like 55% of his passes last year. I think there's like a good arm there. He's definitely going to be a guy that an NFL team brings into camp. But, like, I need a little more accuracy. I need a little more playmaking ability. And I don't know. It's one game. I guess I shouldn't say I'm all the way out, but I mean, I should clarify that I was never in on Garrett Green.
I mean, look, they're going against FCS Albany this week. He's going to light it up in the first half probably, and you're not going to see him in the second half. And you're going to have a 12 for 28, 161-yard, no touchdown, no interception performance against Penn State, and then probably a 5 or 6 touchdown, 200-yard performance against FCS Albany. So I don't know what you want. I would
like to add here, too, and this is going to sound strange. What did you say? 12 of 28 for 161?
He was 15 of 28.
15 of 28. You're going 15 of 28, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I actually don't like that he didn't throw an interception. So not only was he not efficient, but he wasn't pushing it or taking any sort of chances either. They were just running their stuff, and it still didn't work. I don't like that.
He also had 10 rushes for 5 yards.
So he's getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
What that's telling me. Yeah, I thought he was going to be okay, and I still think he might have an okay year, but I was never like die. Spencer, your buddy who was like, you guys are Garrett Green haters. He's the top 4 quarterback in the league. Give him the Top City Metal Supply text line number because I would like to see his thoughts.
785-272-9429, by the way. Tyler in the YouTube says West Virginia might be the worst team in the league. I don't know. They didn't lose by 3 scores to UNLV.
I think that Willie Fritz is going to get that turned around. I do. It might take 2 or 3 years, but I do. But it is going to take a lot of work to get there because Dana just tanked it and oof.
Speaking of teams we thought were going to be lousy and then destroyed their opponent in week 1, Arizona State. They changed your mind on them a little bit with their 48-7 win over Wyoming. They were only 7-point favorites. They beat the pants off of the Cowpokes.
First game for Wyoming with a new head coach. Craig Bowl went into retirement. Man, I'm sticking with Kenny Dillingham. I really, really like him as a head coach. I do. And Cam Scatabo is a good player. I know they had to figure out a quarterback situation late in the process this summer. I think I'm still out. I'm going to hold off on this one. I wish Kenny Dillingham the best because I really do like the guy, but I think there are too many holes.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do this week against an SEC team, Mississippi State.
Yeah, like if they're competitive or beat Mississippi State, then all of a sudden, yeah, we are going to have to change our priors on ASU for sure. One last one, Colorado. This is what is so fascinating to me about Colorado. We're saying all the same things we did about Colorado after 1 week that we did last year after they went to TCU and won, right? Like, wow. So many playmakers on offense. Travis Hunter is unbelievable. He's the best player in college football. Shedeur Sanders can sling it. Boy, defense looks a little iffy. Boy, they don't tackle real great. Boy, they're not real good up front. But man, playmakers. It's all the same stuff. Here's the difference. Last year, it happened on the road against a team that had just played for the national championship. This year, it happened at home against an FCS team. A great one, but it's still an FCS team. I am still out on Colorado. I think they lose to Nebraska on Saturday. I still think they lose to Nebraska.
I think a good team has to have a mix of a pass and a run game. And I don't know how good their running game is going to be. 9 rushes for 20 yards as your leading rusher. Shedeur had 6 for 17.
And he's not mobile.
No.
Yeah. And to me, like,
so funny that Dion's kid as a quarterback moves around the pocket like prime Derek Carr.
Yeah. I mean, they were down, 3 at halftime?
Yeah. No, they're down 10 at one point.
Yeah, but at half, they were down 3.
Yeah.
So you don't need to abandon the run at that point.
The argument I've heard from Colorado fans, why, you guys are just haters. Look at all the talent we brought in. I don't think anyone has ever disagreed that Colorado has brought in talent. That's not the problem. The problem is, I don't think Dion's a very good coach, period.
Right.
You hired Pat Shurmur to be your OC and play caller, and you cannot build an offensive line in one offseason or a defensive line for that matter. And if you keep trying, you're going to keep failing. And nothing that they did against North Dakota State makes me feel any better about them. I'm still out.
That's the thing that's going to happen like a lot that people don't like really want to consider because Dion's a celebrity coach and he's on all the commercials. And if you're with him, you're with him. Him and his staff are going to get out-coached every single week in the Big 12.
Every game.
Every single week. They are at a coach. Every single week starting this week, not Colorado State because Jay Norvell is
a doofus.
Absolute dingus. But like every week in the Big 12, they're going to get out-coached.
Go back to the Celebration Bowls. When he was at Jackson State, they would beat up on the other, MEAC and SWAC teams all year because they had Travis Hunter and Shedeur. Then it was like, oh, shoot, this other team actually is kind of good and they're well-coached, and they got pantsed twice.
Travis Hunter rules, though.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a great player.
Try not to be a hater and just enjoy Travis Hunter if you can. Because
he rules.
He's awesome. We got to take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour, 580 Sports Talk. Do you want to go see the Professional Bull Riders Outlaw Days at the T-Mobile Center Friday night in Kansas City? I've got a family 4-pack of tickets for the first caller right now. 785-272-9429. 785-272-9429. First caller is going to PBR Outlaw Days in Kansas City on Friday. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk is next. Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk. This is hour number 2 on this Wednesday. Dan Lucero, Brendan Rosinski, Spencer Dupuis with you this afternoon.
The jacket is here as well.
Brendan's jacket, the 4th member of our crew. Brendan's aviator sunglasses, the 5th member of our crew.
Brendan, what is on that jacket?
Spencer, I'm so glad you asked. On the left lapel, it is the logo of the Big 8 conference.
Wow.
Yeah.
The dearly departed Big 8. Real ball. You literally weren't alive. You don't remember the Big 8 conference. You know what you know about Big 8 basketball presented by Phillips 66 on your local whatever cable channel was carrying it. It was channel 20 in the Denver area.
Well, then definitely they wouldn't have locally carried it in the DC area.
No, they would not have. This was back when conferences made sense geographically.
So it was the Big 12 at this time, but when they did the regional network, the original ESPN Plus.
That's right. It was the original ESPN Plus.
OGs remember the old ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
And that was
I remember that.
Yeah, WCIU, the U in Chicago. I
remember that because the guy that created it
Marshall grad?
is a Marshall grad.
There you go.
Naturally.
Yeah, no, I remember it well. Wayne Larrivee calling Big 10 basketball, then it would switch over to some Big 12 hoops or vice versa. Oh, yeah. Those were the good old days. WCIU.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thinking about getting a gigantic Big 8 patch and putting it on the back of the jacket.
No, I would rock.
I'm gonna be honest with you though. I'm starting to feel the heat a little bit. I am starting to feel it just a smidge. Not in the body, but in the arms. Whatever this canvas-like jacket material is, a little heavy. A little hot.
Chris asked that was Raycom. Raycom was more of a
East Coast thing.
East Coast, like SEC, ACC. Raycom was the ACC. Jefferson Pilot was the SEC.
In fact, Raycom, if I'm not mistaken, is still who produces the ACC on the CW.
Yes.
Like
yes.
That's still the same
yes.
agreement.
Raycom lives.
Yes. It's owned currently by the Gray Television Network. One of our is that Channel 13? I think that's Channel 13 in town. Is a Gray television station.
I think that's correct.
So yeah, in some form or fashion, Raycom is still around.
Yeah, man. KTVD was the station in Denver. Channel 20 used to run the Big 12 basketball, Big 8 basketball presented by Phillips 66.
Yeah.
To watch Ricardo Patton and the boys get dump trucked at Coors Event Center by number 2 Kansas reliably.
So I did a research paper in one of my not media. I don't remember what class it was, but it was about this. I can't remember his name now, but he literally launched the idea to ESPN to show all the regional games in like the early 90s. Cause it was like it was when Marshall football was in its heyday in the early 90s, getting their one AA championships. And I did this whole research paper on this guy. And he created this, I can't remember what it was, but then he branched off and started his own thing. He's since passed away.
One last sports media fun fact for you. The founder of ESPN, Bill Rasmussen, is a graduate, like yours truly, of DePaul University.
Wow.
I did not know that.
So there you go. A lot of good it did me, but but shout out to Bill Rasmussen. We are on
He's still around?
Yeah, Bill Rasmussen's still kicking. Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. We are on not ESPN or JP Sports or Raycom. We're on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on Facebook and YouTube as well. WIBW News on Facebook and on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Production values that may call to mind some of the old ESPN Plus Raycom stuff. Today, up on the YouTube channel, a new Immaculate Grid with Dan. I did the football grid today. For everybody who thinks I can only remember baseball guys, I can do football guys too. I am an equal opportunity guy rememberer. And the Chiefs were on today's Immaculate Grid, so I thought it would be a fun one to do.
Hey.
So the football Immaculate Grid with Dan is up on our YouTube channel today, 580 Sports Talk. So go on and check that out. Still to come this hour of the program, Tim Fitzgerald will join us from GoPowerCat.com for the Wildcat Wrap-Up. We'll also have 2 new stories on what is wrong with you. But first, the NFL season starts tomorrow night. We are now 27 hours, roughly, from kickoff between the Ravens and the Chiefs. And on tomorrow's show, We will have a full breakdown of Chiefs Ravens, our keys to the game, our big Chief picks, our season predictions for the NFL. We'll see how those go this year. But today, to carve out a little extra time for these, I thought we would predict the awards. We would look at the major awards of the National Football League and predict them today. And we will discuss them in the context of the betting odds offered by our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook. And we'll start by picking the MVP. And it would be, I think, a contrarian's take to suggest that anybody other than Patrick Mahomes would win this award. The question is, are people already tired of giving him awards? Have we already reached the stage that the great ones inevitably reach across all sports? This happened to LeBron. It happened to Michael Jordan. It happened to Mike Trout in baseball, where one player is just so much better than everyone else. And if they even have a decent year, it's an MVP caliber year, but you get tired of rewarding him, so you give it to someone else. Mm-hmm. Are we there with Patrick Mahomes? I think we are not, because he only has 2 regular season MVPs. He has the same number of MVPs as Lamar Jackson, which just goes to show you how good Lamar Jackson is. But I think a return to form for Mahomes, and by return to form, that is not to suggest he was not good last year. He was just not MVP caliber last year. Nobody was arguing that Mahomes should have won the MVP last year. But if he returns to the form we've seen in previous years, 2022, 2021, 2020 Mahomes, he's going to win his 3rd MVP. He is the betting favorite. Prairie Band Sportsbook has him right now at plus 500 to win the award. I think Mahomes is going to win the MVP. And if his receiving core stays healthy throughout the year, it might be unanimous.
Might be unanimous. Interesting. Although we get so many close to unanimous winners now. Like, I can't believe Lamar was almost unanimous last season. McCaffrey should have gotten more votes than he did. Here is my one thing. Yes, the quest for a 3rd Super Bowl, that's a great storyline. That is a great narrative. This is a regular season award. Votes are due before you get to the postseason, which is when we know the Chiefs are going to be at their best and their sharpest, or they should be anyway. So I am going to go with the guy who I think has a stronger narrative this year, because I think it is very similar to the 2022 Mahomes narrative. Now, that Chiefs team won the Super Bowl, and Mahomes was obviously incredible. I think this is Josh Allen's year. I think Buffalo is going to win that division again, even with all the big names that have left. But I do think this is going to be a time when everyone's, because all offseason it's been what, right? Like, oh man, Buffalo got rid of so many guys, rebuilding year. And in a way, financially it is, but I think Josh Allen is going to put up huge numbers. I think they're going to win the division. And I think voters are going to almost feel like, damn, this team's second best receiver was Khalil Shakir, and their offensive line is iffy, and their defense lost a ton, and they still won a tough division because Josh Allen is that much of a workhorse. So I think the narrative is going to help Josh Allen.
Josh Allen plus 900 from Prairie Band to win the MVP. Spencer, who's your MVP?
Give me Mahomes. I think Mahomes is going to do it.
I will say, for the record, I did strongly consider just going with Mahomes. I mean, why not?
There's a reason he's the favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the best player in football. He's maybe the best quarterback we've ever seen. And he has a wide receiver room this year that isn't full of guys who are out to sabotage him for reasons we can't quite determine. So Patrick Mahomes is the pick for me and Spencer. Brendan going with Josh Allen. All right, Offensive Player of the Year. There are co-favorites from Prairie Band Sportsbook. Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill both plus 700 to win the award. Brendan, I'll give you the first crack here. Who do you got winning Offensive Player of the Year?
Thankfully, the NFL has gone away from making this just essentially a second MVP for quarterbacks. The last quarterback to win the award, in fact, 2018, Patrick Mahomes. 2 years prior to that, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton before that, Peyton Manning 2 years before that, is become like best offensive player, not including quarterbacks, which it should, for what it's worth.
17 of the last 30 have been running backs.
Which is very interesting. I'm going to go with the wide receiver. We had 2 straight, Jefferson and Kupp in 22 and 21, McCaffrey last year. I am going to go with Dak Prescott's best target. I am going to go with CeeDee Lamb. Can you name the number 2 receiver for the Dallas Cowboys?
Alvin Harper.
No.
I don't know.
Brandon Cooks.
Oh, wow.
Good player.
Still kicking.
Been a good player for a long
Thought
time.
he was done.
That's their second best receiver. Jalen Tolbert was not good last year. Kevontae Turpin is on there too deep at receiver. Not return man, receiver. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to get 200 plus targets this year, and I think he's going to have 1,500 yards and a ton of touchdowns. And Dak's going to put up those big numbers he always does because he's going to target that dude, and he is that good.
Spencer, who you got for OPOY?
I'm going to go Hill.
Tyreek Hill is a good pick.
Yeah. I just think he's going to have another great year. He didn't break 2K, did he, last year?
No, he did
slow
not.
Down.
I think he's going to break 2K this year.
Wow. Yeah, if he does, he's going to win the award.
Yeah.
Waddle's banged up to start the year. That'll help.
It's tempting to go with a long shot here, but I'm gonna side with you on this one, Brendan. I like CeeDee Lamb's odds here because I do think this is going to be an accumulation year for both Prescott and Lamb. Lamb at least got his money. Prescott is trying to get his. So I think the numbers that Prescott puts up this year are going to be eye-popping. He's always been a great regular season player. There's never been a doubt about that. So I think Lamb goes with him and has just a monster season. CeeDee Lamb is plus 1,000 to win the award, by the way. Tyreek Hill, co-favorite with Christian McCaffrey at plus 700. Again, these odds from Prairie Band Sportsbook.
Real quick, because I have a take I want to get off, and I don't know that we're going to get it in tomorrow or Friday. Who is Dak Prescott playing for in 2025?
The Dallas Cowboys.
I think they should be the favorites. They should be favored to bring him in. I am going to go with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Spicy.
I was going to say the Saints.
If they can clear cap space, that's not a bad idea. I would love to see Dak throw into Chris Olave, to be honest with you. That'd be a lot of fun, but they got a lot of issues they got to figure out first.
All right, let's move to Defensive Player of the Year. The odds-on favorite is Micah Parsons at plus 500. Spencer, I know you'd be loath to pick a Cowboy. Who are you taking for DPOY in 2024?
I'm going to go Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson.
That's a spicy pick.
That.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So the only problem with Aiden Hutchinson is that he's all they've got from a pass rushing perspective. And so makes it easier for teams to pay some extra attention of him. He's plus 1,400 from Prairie Band to win the Defensive Player of the Year. I like him a lot. I think he could put up, he's got a chance to put up those big sack numbers that tend to win this award. So I love the pick, Spencer. I really do. My pick, I am going with Micah Parsons. This is year 4 for him. This should be the best we've seen.
Man, only year 4.
Yeah.
Crazy.
This should be the best year that we've seen for Micah Parsons. And man, how about that? I'm picking a Cowboy to win both offensive and defensive player of the year. And I don't know that I'm going to pick them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, right.
They are so talented. The talent on that roster is off the charts, like the high-end talent. There are not a lot of teams with more high-end guys than the Dallas Cowboys.
I think you're right, but I think that's a problem. I think they're too top-heavy.
They just don't have enough depth.
Right. No, I
when
agree.
it comes to good players. They have great players.
Like CeeDee Lamb,
good players.
CeeDee Lamb can get 1,800 yards, and Micah Parsons can get 20 sacks. But who's in the middle of that roster producing for them? That's been a problem they've run into. Who's your DPOY pick?
You heard me mention it. I believe it was yesterday on the show. I am going with Max Crosby. I honestly would have considered voting for him last year. And now that you've got another guy on that line who is going to eat up blocks in Christian Wilkins, I think Crosby's going to get single-teamed more. I think he's going to be fantastic. And he plays every snap. He never comes off the field. It is a freak show of a player. So I'm going to go with Max Crosby. He's one of my favorite players in the league.
Crosby is plus 800 from Prairie Band to win the award. Micah Parsons plus 500. Myles Garrett and TJ Watt 600 and 700 respectively. Crosby and Nick Bosa both at 800, and then Aiden Hutchinson plus 1,400. All right, let's get to the rookies. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm going first here. I have made no secret about this, that I'm a big Caleb Williams fan, and I think he's going to be good right away. And I think the Bears have a chance to make the playoffs. I will be shocked if this is not Caleb Williams. He is the overwhelming betting favorite at plus 150. Why should I? Who am I to buck tradition here or buck the odds?
Yeah.
I think he's that good. I think he'll be that good right away.
I'm with you on Caleb Williams. I think Marvin Harrison could have a great year right away because, I'm a Kyler fan, and he's wide receiver 1 there. And other than you throw in Trey McBride, who's a really nice player at tight end, but they don't have a whole lot else in terms of targets, I think you'll see a ton to him. I think Malik Neighbors has a chance to put up insane numbers in his first year in New York because they really don't have anyone. And you might say, wow, then why are you going with the quarterback? Last season, Puka Nacua had nearly 1,500 yards. It was the rookie record for receiving yards in a single season. Meanwhile, CJ Stroud finished 8th in passing yards, 13th in passing touchdowns, and won Rookie of the Year overwhelmingly.
Yeah,
it's
going away.
to a quarterback if they are at least above average, and I think Caleb is going to be really good.
Spencer, you going to buck the trend?
Yeah, I'm going Jaden Daniels.
Nah.
Okay, all right. I'm going to give credence to Spencer for one moment. If they end up being like competent and he is anything like he looked like as a college player, I could see it. Like, I don't think it will happen. I don't think it is likely, but I could see a pathway to that happening.
I heard a clip on Twitter today from Mina Kimes of ESPN. She said, if all cylinders are going the correct way for the Commanders and for Jaden Daniels around the trade deadline, she thinks a spicy trade would be to go get Adams. Devontae Adams from the Raiders.
The thing is, like, I don't think wide receiver is, well, and you know better than I do, I don't think receiver is necessarily the problem. I think the problem is they hired Cliff Kingsbury. And I think Cliff's an idiot. Like, I don't.
Your hatred for Cliff runs deep.
Dude, he's still running like 2012 air raid concepts in 2024. Like, the whole Terry McLaurin's only going to play one side of the field thing. Like, dude, this stopped working at Washington State like 3 years into Mike Leach being there. Like, come on, adapt. So that's frustrating. But I can see it. I can see the pathway.
Jaden Daniels, the second favorite, according to the Prairie Band Sportsbook odds, plus 500 to win Offensive Player of the Year. Marvin Harrison Jr. plus 800. Malik Neighbors and Bo Nix both plus 1,200. If you are betting on Bo Nix to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, give me your money instead. It will be a better use of it. I will buy diapers for my child, and it will not go to waste.
Did you see who's sixth?
I am looking at it right now. Xavier Worthy.
Do not bet that. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not giving you financial advice. Do not bet that.
How about Defensive Rookie of the Year? Your betting favorite is Dallas Turner at plus 450. Brendan.
I'm going to go with the guy right behind him in the odds over at Prairie Band Sportsbook. I'm going with Laitu Latu. I really like him. He had injury concerns. He was actually a medical retirement during his college career, came back, was cleared to play, and looked awesome. I really like his skill set. I was tempted to go with Jared Verse in Los Angeles because I really, really like Jared Verse. But there are a ton of people I trust in the NFL media world who love Latu's skill set. So I'll go with the newest Atlanta Falcon.
Spencer, who you got?
Byron Murphy II.
Love it.
That's a good pick.
Love it. Care to expound on my the newest Seahawk?
I just think you get him and you have their new head coach, Mike McDonald, a defensive-minded coach, brings in a great rookie. And I think that's signs for big success for Murphy in his first year.
Look at what last year Mike McDonald, really the last 2 years, but last year especially, was able to do with the man formerly known as Justin Madubuike. He's now going by his Nigerian name, Nnamdi.
I did see that.
But he went from, yeah, he's nice. Like that's a nice player to, holy cow, he's a monster. This defense is built for a dude like that. And Madubuike and Murphy are not the exact same kind of player. I think Murphy might actually have a little bit more size and strength coming into the league than Madubuike had. But that feels like a great combination right away, which I think is going to help that defense a lot.
4 of the last 5 defensive rookies of the year have been either defensive ends or outside linebacker pass rush types. I think that will continue this year, but I'm going even further up the board at plus 1,700 odds. Byron Murphy plus 1,100, by the way. Go with Chop Robinson for Miami. I really like his pass rush skills. He could be a guy that racks up double-digit sacks or get close to it. And typically, those are the kinds of numbers that stand out. Like, you need to put up a number. Like, Trent McDuffie not intercepting a pass wasn't going to win him Defensive Rookie of the Year. Like, you've got to put up numbers, either sacks or interceptions. And I think Chop Robinson is in the best situation to rack up sacks because somebody's got to for Miami. Like, all their sack guys are gone or hurt. Somebody's got to get to the quarterback. And I think Chop Robinson's got the NFL ability to go and do that. So we're all off the board, not off the board, but not picking the favorite in Defensive Rookie of the Year. All right, real quick. We don't have odds for this. Coach of the Year. Spencer, who's it going to be?
It's gonna be why am I D'Amico Ryan. I couldn't remember his first name.
D'Amico Ryan.
I think it's gonna be D'Amico Ryan.
Coach
I like that pick.
Yeah, coach of the Houston Texans.
I was gonna call him Ryan, but I'm like, that's not his first name.
It's not Ryan, it's Ryan. It's an old Jim Rome reference there. I'm dating myself a little bit.
Nice.
For me, I am going to, you know what's wild? Andy Reid has one of these awards back in 2002.
Probably tells you all you need to know about him.
This is the only time. You know who has two in the last 4 years? Kevin Stefanski.
I think Kevin Stefanski's a really good coach.
He's
but
a good coach, but
like,
why?
Yeah.
Bruce Arians and Ron Rivera used to just pass this award around.
Yep. Stefanski a better winner than Rivera for sure.
So it typically goes to the team that outperforms expectations the most. And I think that there is an expectation that this team is going to fall off a little bit, but I think they're going to win their division. And I think that he is going to win the award, even though he has not won it before. I'm going with Coach 9/11. I'm going with Sean McDermott.
I thought you might be going in that direction. Do you know what current coach leads the NFL in active winning percentage? He also happens to be 6th of all coaches in the Super Bowl era in winning percentage.
Is it Matt LaFleur?
It is Matt LaFleur. I'll give my homer pick here. He's won 67.5% of his games and has never sniffed this award.
Wow.
I think this is the year he gets it done.
Fascinating stuff. So those are our NFL award predictions. Again, MVPs, I'm going with Mahomes. So is Spencer. Brendan's going with Josh Allen. My players of the year, CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons. Brendan's going with Lamb and Max Crosby. Spencer with Tyreek Hill and Aiden Hutchinson. Rookies of the year, for me, I went with Caleb Williams and Chop Robinson. Brendan goes with Williams and Latu Latu. Spencer goes with his boy, Jaden Daniels, and Byron Murphy the second. And our coach of the year picks for me, Sean McDermott. Brendan goes with his boy, Matt LaFleur. Will you wear the shirt? The
Absolutely.
Matt LaFleur shirt?
Oh,
He went.
Oh, yeah.
Wear it under the jacket.
Oh, yeah. I think my LaFleur shirt might be in the wash. I'm going to wear the Jordan Love one on Friday, though.
Spencer went with D'Amico Ryan. Those are our NFL award predictions. We'll do division predictions, Super Bowl predictions on tomorrow's show. Right now, we got to take a break. What is wrong with you next on 580 Sports Talk? Time for What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. 2 new stories today trying to take down our current champion, which Mark in the YouTube comments dubbed TikTok Dough. The scheme that people thought they were getting over on Chase Bank and getting free money from Chase Bank, but they were just kiting checks.
Yes, the notoriously easy to fool banks.
It was check fraud all along. I got a story today that I've dubbed, and I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for that loose dog. We go to Caribou, Maine. On July 14th, a large burglary was reported to the Caribou Police Department, and the resident reported that several items were taken, including a 16-foot aluminum Starcraft boat with a trailer.
Oh.
On August 19th, the sergeant took a complaint of a loose dog on Limestone Street in Caribou. While at the residence, Sergeant Cochran noticed a boat like the one that had been reported stolen. He was able to compare a photograph of the stolen boat with the boat located on Limestone Street. 2 days later, Sergeant Cochran secured a search warrant to inspect the boat closer and determined that the boat was indeed the one stolen. The residence was secured, and Sergeant Cochran obtained a second search warrant to search for other stolen property. Do you think he found any? Yup. He also found drugs.
Yeah, of course he did.
And firearms.
Oh,
And
of course he did.
38-year-old Joshua Akerson was arrested and charged with receiving stolen property, possession of firearms by a prohibited person, and 2 counts of furnishing Schedule Z drugs. All they had to do was keep that dog on a leash, and my man would have had his boat and all his drugs and just would have slipped under the radar. But no, the loose dog got him.
Yikes.
Shout out to the dog.
My story today brings us to Florida, where a man accused of portraying himself as a medical doctor is wanted by the Metropolitan Bureau of Investigation. The MBI announced Tuesday an arrest warrant for Juan Carlos Ignacio Munoz Melgar on charges of practicing medicine without a license. Munoz Melgar was previously arrested in November of 2023 following an investigation into his Orlando office on South Orange Blossom Trail, in which he targeted specific groups he felt would pay him cash and not ask questions. He was charged with practicing without a license and misleading the public that a person is a licensed MD. He identified other groups he would not see because he believed they would sue them. Very funny. Munoz Melgar bonded out of jail following that first arrest. However, agents at the MBI received tips he was continuing to practice medicine without a license from his home in St. Cloud, Florida. A news release said practicing medicine without a license places the community in danger of receiving inappropriate, substandard, or harmful care. Yes, I agree with you. If anyone knows Munoz Melgar's whereabouts, they're encouraged to reach out to Crime Line in Florida.
They let this guy slip away from them.
Can't just pretend to be a doctor. Generally frowned upon.
Yeah, not allowed to do that.
You have to go to school for a lot of years.
This dude
pay a lot of money.
This dude really wanted to be a doctor too.
All right, so fake doctor or the loose dog, the loose dog thief. Paul in the YouTube comments calls him Scooby Doofus.
I'm going that one.
Yeah, I'm going with that one too. Just if you know the cops are going to get involved and they can find your property, don't get the cops involved.
Yeah, like maybe put the stolen boat in a garage.
Yeah,
or
in a shed.
Yeah, don't just have it out, especially in the same town from where it was stolen. Does that beat TikTok Dough?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. All right. I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for that loose dog. That's our winner on What Is Wrong With You. Tim Fitzgerald joins us next for the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. It was a big K-State victory on Saturday, 41-6 over Tennessee Martin to begin the 2024 season. Here to talk all about that and all things K-State is Tim Fitzgerald, publisher at GoPowerCat.com. You follow him on Twitter at Life of Fitz and check out his work again at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Fitz, 41-6 was the final score. Slow start, not the first half that I think people were expecting, but by and large, what was your takeaway from how the Kansas State offense performed in the opener on Saturday?
I think they were fine. They were just very conservative in what they ran. They didn't put a lot on the field. They didn't want to put a lot on film. They didn't want to expose Avery Johnson to possible injury in a game like that. And they accomplished all that and got a 35-point win. So I will be very interested in what they look like offensively this week. I think they'll let up on them a little bit and let this offense play a little more than they did against UT Martin, and we'll see if that converts into a lot of points.
I sort of felt like that was what was contributing to the slow start. I think when you keep something holstered, I think almost there's a mental effect that has on a team that maybe they hold something back just a little bit in terms of their physical effort, because it was very clear, like you said, they didn't want to get Avery Johnson hurt. So they called one designed run for him all game, and it was the first play of the second half. And I think that was very pointed, as if to say, okay, we can do this. We'll show them it's in the chamber, and now you guys got to go play like you're not holding anything back. And then they did accomplish that.
Yep, I agree with you. I mean, I would imagine Avery said, hey, let me get loosened up here. Yeah, he said it after the game that he didn't really feel like he was fully in the game until he had that quarterback run that was designed and he got popped a little bit. And he said he was really good after that. You can't take away that part of his game and expect the other parts of his game to be the same. It's all part of being in rhythm and getting comfortable at the quarterback position. So I think we'll see him run early in this game, probably in, some safe plays, but they'll let him get out there and run so he can kind of get the cobwebs knocked down and get ready to go.
What impressed you the most about the defensive effort on Saturday?
They tenacious pass rush. They're really good up front. They're really dynamic with a number of different players that can make plays. Toby Usunsami was just relentless. And K-State's got something really good going on with these young defensive ends. And I think this is going to be a big part of this matchup this weekend at Tulane.
What did you make of how many different guys got on the field for that defense? Because it sure didn't seem like, even when there were some different names, and I kept having to look down at the program roster, the game note roster to check guys, the 2-deep flip card on some guys to figure out who was on the field. But it just never seemed like they missed a beat regardless of who was out there.
Agreed. They put a lot of guys in this game. I think that final count was 79 and not a single true freshman. And that's remarkable. That shows how deep this team is. I've never seen a K-State team this deep. And you mentioned it, defensively, they've just got so many dudes. Even though they had 2 linebackers out, you didn't see any let up from the linebacker position. Just really impressive. And to survive the Big 12, you got to be deep. And this is, again, the deepest I think I've ever seen a K-State team.
Tim Fitzgerald is our guest. He is the publisher of GoPowerCat.com, which itself is part of the 24/7 Sports Network. You can find him on Twitter as well, at Life of Fitz. He joins us every Wednesday at this time for our Wildcat Wrap-Up on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. The areas that you were the most concerned about, Fitz, I know we talked about the defensive line a lot this offseason and leading into the first week of the college football season. How do you feel like those particular groups played?
I'm sorry, back up. I got a text right in the middle of that.
The groups, the position groups, Fitz, that you had the most concerns about, specifically thinking about the depth on the defensive line. I know you just mentioned the depth a moment ago, but how'd you feel like that group played?
Look, they still got some stuff to prove at nose tackle, but I thought Damian and Lalio was very good. He's not very big to be a nose tackle, but boy, he was really disruptive, taking on double blocks and just shedding them. It was really impressive what that young man's turned into. I'm still a little bit worried about the offensive line. They were okay. They missed some assignments, and it sounds like Hadley Panzer was a little banged up going into the game with the rolled ankles, so he wasn't quite himself. But I think the line will get there. I thought the running game was really good, but mostly because of the running back. I thought a lot of the work was done by backs just getting into the open. And once the line becomes more consistent, this running game gets a little bit more on track, this offense is going to be pretty potent.
You mentioned it a moment ago there, but I want to expand a little bit. You said you think the offensive line is going to get there. I wanted to ask with the worry with that group, and I understand it. I mean, you turned over so much, multiple NFL guys from a year ago. There's always going to be a bit of a growing pain that you have to go through. Do you think for that unit, though, it's something that they can overcome, and by the last game of the season, it's going to look a whole lot better? Or does it feel like maybe there's a little bit of a talent deficiency they're going to have to make up for this time around?
Yeah, I think they'll get better. Look, you're not going to have a Cooper Beebe. That's a generational talent, maybe the greatest offensive lineman in K-State history. But they've got depth. They've got some young depth, too, that they got to play. That's another benefit of this. But I think the line will be fine. And, they'll figure out what works for this group. You ran behind BB quite a lot, and maybe you're going to run behind someone else this season, but they'll figure that out. And I think this is a good week to probably make progress in that area.
You were talking about the running backs a few moments ago. Let's talk about the newest one in the group, Dylan Edwards. That speed is just different, isn't it? And I don't know if you had gotten to see him when he was a high schooler, Fitz. I know some of your guys did over at Go PowerCat, but you can just tell some guys there's fast and then there's, oh my God, fast. I think Dylan Edwards has the latter.
Yeah, and because he gets up to speed so quickly. There's some fast guys that have to get unwound a little bit, and there's some quick guys that get a good start but don't really pull away. I'd put DJ Giddens in that. I think he's quick, but he's not particularly fast. Dylan Edwards is both. He's got that quick first step. He's immediately up to speed. Makes it really challenging on a defense. And I know he scored 2 touchdowns, but they really didn't show that much with him. I think there's a lot of things they can do, and I think he's going to be really important in that return game.
Before we get started looking ahead to this matchup against Tulane coming up in week 2, will you be making the trip to New Orleans?
Oh, yes. Yes, Ryan Gilbert and I will be heading out on Friday, flying down, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a little bit more of a work trip than, you would want in New Orleans, but it's going to be a fun day. It really will be. Looks like it might rain now, but it's not going to be as hot as we suspected. But I think it'll be a really entertaining game and a really kind of cool on-campus stadium that seats about 30,000.
Okay, maybe you answered it for me right there, saying it's going to be more of a work trip than a pleasure trip. But I was going to follow up and ask, have you alerted the authorities that you and Ryan Gilbert will be there for that game?
No, I don't want to do that. I want to kind of sneak into town and do ninja stuff, and then sneak out of town. And cover a football game.
Our guest is Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline with the Wildcat Wrap-Up, which we do every Wednesday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Fitz, these are different teams than they were 2 years ago. Different personnel, a different coach on the Tulane sideline. So there's not too much of a straight line you can draw from Tulane coming into Manhattan and winning 2 years ago to what will unfold on Saturday in New Orleans. In what ways do you expect Tulane to test Kansas State? Beyond the fact that they're the first FBS opponent K-State has faced, what do they do well, particularly, that is going to be a challenge for K-State?
Well, they've got speed at receiver, and we saw, some receivers not really get open, but K-State can pass at other opportunities. I think they'll go deep early and try to hit the home run and really grab some momentum. But I think K-State's going to be prepared for that. They've got good speed at corner, and I think they learned a lot about their defense and how good those guys up front can handle the run. And I think Tulane realizes running the ball against K-State's going to be difficult. And then again, they don't want to leave their freshman quarterback in the pocket too long for deep patterns, because that pass rush was pretty darn intimidating for UT Martin.
It was interesting to hear some of the players talk about that game 2 years ago, the guys who were around and on the roster for that home loss to the Green Wave. And look, that was a really good Tulane team. Like, in retrospect, that loss doesn't look nearly as bad as it felt on that day. I remember walking out of Bill Snyder Family Stadium going, oh man, what does this mean for K-State this year? Well, they won the Big 12, and Tulane went to a New Year's Six game. Like, that was just a good football game with two really good football teams. K-State came out on the wrong end. mostly because they went 2 for 15 on third down. But again, we'll leave that all in the past. But it seemed like the players who were a part of that kind of remember that and kind of want to deal out a little bit of revenge. How much of a factor do you think maybe that is with some of the veteran guys on this K-State team?
No, I think, it's not like they're bitter about it. They still can't explain how they lost that game because it was so many self-inflicted issues in that contest. So I think they just want to show they can play better and, make a point that, yeah, you won on our home field, but here you go. And you know what? They got to go do it now. They can't be flat. They can't be conservative offensively to the point where the team can't function. I kind of hang that one on the coaches more than the players because I just felt like the coaches tried to play it too close to the vest, let Tulane stay in the game, feel confident, and eventually win. And they never let their own team kind of get into the rhythm of the contest. And I think that's going to be different this year. I think they're going to come out and get after Tulane.
K-State wins if what happens in particular? If they do one thing in particular really well, they walk out of there with a win.
I think, if that defense just holds up and does the same type of things they did last week against Tennessee Martin, harass the quarterback, get to the quarterback, hit the quarterback, disrupt the passing game, be physically intimidating, which, I think was a strong sign last week. This is another opportunity to do it. But also, guys, I just look at this team and I think, well, if it's, third down, like you mentioned, the third down conversions were so bad, you've got a different quarterback that has got that extra gear that can go get that done if you really need to. So I think they've got some more things here that they can do. And I think they're going to open it up offensively enough to kind of make this one an easy win.
Perfect segue there, Fitz, because I wanted to ask you about opening up the playbook. I don't think anyone is doubting that Chris Kleiman and Matt Wells and, nobody on the defensive side, nobody was going to go deep into the favorite plays section of the playbook or the most dangerous plays section of the playbook against UT Martin, nor should they have. Against Tulane, though, it is a team that you are better than, I think, without question. Doesn't mean you always win, but you're better than Tulane if you're K-State. It's a non-conference game. How deep into the playbook do you think K-State's going to go? Is it still going to be mostly surface level, or is this going to feel more like middle of October, middle of November, Big 12 kind of play calling?
No, I think somewhere in between. It'll be more than last week, but I think they're pretty cognizant of holding stuff back. A big game next Friday night with Arizona at the Bill, and I don't think they want to tip their hand too much, but they're going to put enough on the field to get the job done. If they come out and are as conservative as they were last week, I'm going to be a little worried, but I don't think that'll happen. I think Avery Johnson's probably told the coaches, but we got to play. We got to play. We can't just, go through the motions and only run the really basic stuff. We got to put some stuff out there. So I was a little surprised at how conservative they were last week. So maybe they'll do it again, but I just don't see that.
Tim Fitzgerald covers Kansas State athletics at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Subscribe, become a VIP member today. Fitz joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for the Wildcat Wrap-Up every Wednesday here on 580 Sports Talk. Fitz, enjoy New Orleans. Be careful if you happen to hit Bourbon Street. Tell them to be on the lookout. Enjoy a beignet for me, and hopefully bring back a Cat victory.
Okay, boys. Thanks a lot.
That is Tim Fitzgerald. We'll take a quick break, come back, wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk after this. 4:55 on 580 Sports Talk as we wind up hour number 2. We got one more hour of the program still ahead. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we'll have our sports headlines, or 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll hear from Luke Grimm, the senior wide receiver for the Kansas Jayhawks. Brendan and I had a chance to talk to him earlier this week. We will also give you a preview of Game 3 between the Royals and the Guardians as the Royals try to avoid the sweep and an 8th straight loss. Pre-game coverage coming right at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. First pitch at 6:40 here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. I have another 4-pack of Professional Bull Riders Outlaw Days tickets to give away. A family 4-pack of tickets for Friday night, September 6th at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City for Professional Bull Riders Outlaw Days. This is not the rodeo. This is PBR, baby. This is the Professional Bull Riders Circuit. This is a big deal event. This is
not Pabst Blue Ribbon.
It is not.
Nope.
Not that kind of PBR. I checked. I asked.
It is very intense, though. I watched some on YouTube.
You could probably drink a PBR at the PBR Outlaw Days.
I bet.
If they vend it at the T-Mobile Center, which I don't know if they do or not. It would be a great crossover tie-in, like a natural marketing fit. Anyway, I've got another family 4-pack of tickets to give away to this great event Friday night at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, and I will give it to the first person who calls 785-272-9429. Give it away to caller number 1, 785-272-9429 if you want a 4-pack of tickets to the PBR Outlaw Days. Again, coming up this next hour, this final hour of the day, Luke Grimm chatting about KU football, their win over Lindenwood, having Jalen Daniels back, the wide receiver group, and a whole lot more. It was a fun chat with Luke Grimm. We look forward to bringing that to you and our 580 Sports Talk headlines as well. That's all coming up on the final hour, 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 WIBW. Let's get it. Final hour of the day here on 580 Sports Talk. A wonderful Wednesday in the capital city of Kansas. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis, the Power Trio here on 580 Sports Talk, hanging out with you for one more hour before we hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network for pregame coverage tonight. 6:40 first pitch at the K. The Royals desperately need a win. After losing 7 in a row, a season-long losing skid, they send Seth Lugo to the mound, try to stop the bleeding tonight against Cleveland's Ben Lively in the finale of this 3-game series with the Central leading Guardians. First pitch, 6:40 tonight. You can hear it right here on 580 WIBW, where you are hearing us right now. Or maybe you're hearing us on FM 104.9 or on our website, 580WIBW.com. Maybe you're watching the video. Maybe you were induced to see the video by our description of Brendan's awesome denim jacket.
It's hot. I'm going to tell you right now. It's hot. And I mean that like the good way, not the fact that my arms have been sweating for an hour now.
Hey, that's your business and none of my own. If
Maybe
you
you should have stayed back in this studio because
Yeah.
you didn't even realize that you weren't even getting warm in here.
Yeah, it's I think 66 on the thermostat in there.
Oh,
and
that rocks.
yeah, with this
Yeah,
jacket on, it was
I love it in here.
hella nice. I don't know what it is in here. Our thermostat's under our fans of the plan banner
Yeah.
from the Drive to Zero.
It's comfortable. I would describe the temperature in our studio right now as comfortable.
But not for a jacket, unfortunately.
I'm a little warm, but it's fine. I look cool.
It's not jacket weather.
I look badass.
You do. You look great. You got
And,
the aviators.
Oh, yeah.
The video stream can be found on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe today. We're up to 629 subscribers last I checked. Keep that number going up. Subscribe to the YouTube. You get to see Brendan do his David Caruso from CSI Miami with
never
the
gets
aviators.
Look, I'm typing on the computer, and that caught me out of my peripherals. And I was like, what in the world is he doing?
Always looks cool.
No, every time. Like I used to watch CSI Miami a lot. Like
Bro, that was my
reruns.
favorite show.
Grab onto him.
Yeah, it
It was
Bob
always
O'Reilly.
the one-liners. He would say
Yeah.
a one-liner as he was pulling them off.
Yeah, like find a body in like a ravine and it'd be something like, well, this person got shot on their way to take out seafood, and he said, well, I guess he should have taken that to go, and whip off the sunglasses, and Bob O'Reilly would hit. Yeah, man, that was good TV.
Yeah, I've got another one. It'd be like Delco, we will find out. We will find out.
I would like to offer a very important correction, Dan. It's Won't Get Fooled Again.
Oh, is that won't get? Yeah, it is won't get fooled
Yeah.
again. Bob O'Reilly's Teenage Wasteland. That's
Yes.
my bad.
Yeah.
That's a bad job by me. I should know.
Is
There's
that
only
is that the CSI New York theme song? Did you know they were all the same artist?
I did not. I was not a frequent viewer of the CSI family of shows.
Spencer, you are correct. Spencer is not only our Beltway Sports insider, he is also our CBS network TV insider. And you are correct.
Him and my wife.
Because
Like,
then it's what's the one for CSI regular? What's the who are
Is
you?
there a- oh,
who,
that-
who
Yes,
who?
the third Who song that.
Who are you? Yeah.
That's about it, right?
Who are you?
Nah, Pinball Wizard.
My wife loves
Those
that
are
song.
the three songs that I know though. Like if
Yeah,
you,
those
that'd be
are the big three Who songs. Yeah, I never watched network television, and then I met my wife, and now like all the FBI's, all the Law and Orders, like all on the menu, baby. One Chicago.
yeah.
We're down to only two of the Chicago.
Hey,
so
we're
out on Chicago. I'm out on Chicago Med because I
Me
will not
too.
watch Med shows.
Yeah.
And my wife's out on Chicago Fire. So we are down to literally one Chicago
Hey,
together.
we're coming up here.
We
It's
are. We're getting
network
close.
television season here in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, it is. And end of September.
Magic Bus, by the way. My Generation, they've got songs.
Okay. Yeah, My Generation is a good one.
My Generation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Squeezebox?
Who insider Brendan Dworzinski?
Really not. I don't really like The Who. Although Won't Get Fooled Again is pretty good.
Man,
I didn't
Bob
realize all
O'Reilly
these songs
is
are like
incredible.
8 minutes long.
yes, Bob
Oh, yeah.
O'Reilly is an incredibly long song. That is such a good
Also,
song.
Bob O'Reilly's the randomest title name of a song for a song that doesn't even use the words in that.
That feels like an Eric Alper Twitter prompt. Like, what's the
Ooh.
best song that doesn't mention the title?
Bob O'Reilly, because
It's got to
everyone
be,
thought
right?
it was Teenage Wasteland, like you just mentioned.
Yeah. Ooh, man, that's a great question. I'm going to do some research.
My choice would be Tangled Up in Plaid by Queens of the Stone Age. They
That's
don't,
a good one.
They don't say those words in that song.
There's a number of Queens of the Stone Age songs like that. Threes and Sevens. Regular John.
You get into like some metal and punk bands, and they just name their songs like ridiculous things, or emo bands.
Yeah, like Metallica has an instrumental 9-minute track on almost all of its albums, save for like Saint Anger and Reload. So, I mean, yeah, Call of Cthulhu is never mentioned in that track, but neither is any other word.
Bohemian Rhapsody is never mentioned.
That's a good one.
Track.
That's a good one.
Who was the band that had all the Brand New? Brand New had all those emo songs that had the titles had nothing to do with the song.
Actually, what's the one I really like by Brand New? I can't remember. It's not my running playlist. There's actually a lot of these. Like, if you think about it, there are a ton. The most like the song that defined an entire generation. Kurt Cobain never says the words "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, there's a lot of Nirvana songs like that, and also a ton of Led Zeppelin songs.
Was it Brand New? Okay, I Believe You, but My Tommy Gun Don't. Is that
no.
Nirvana has a few songs too.
Yeah, Nirvana's got a bunch of them.
Bob Dylan.
The Quiet Things That No One Ever Knows.
That was on an NHL video game soundtrack.
Was it really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, okay, so yeah, there's actually a lot of these.
And I think they say the Quiet Things That No One Ever Knows is actually said in that song.
Yes, it is. Blur, in their most popular song, they never say the words "song 2."
All right, we're cheating now.
There's a whole playlist of it's 39 songs of the top songs that don't have the name in their titles or the song titles in the lyrics on Top Shelf Trivia from Spotify playlist.
I will have to check that out. Text your picks to the Top City Metal Supply text line 785-272-9429. No more wasting money on metal pieces that leave you with unnecessary leftovers. Top City Metal Supply will cut exact lengths of aluminum, steel, and stainless steel, tailored to your project's specifications. Start optimizing your budget with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field.
Enter Sandman.
That's true. They do say enter, but yeah.
And
Sandman, but not together.
Yeah, I write Sins Not Tragedies.
Yeah.
Panic at the Disco.
I was going to say Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, same band to me.
Good Riddance by Green Day.
I see Yellow Ledbetter on here. You could tell me that the entire song was just the words Yellow Ledbetter being said over and over, and I would believe you.
He could be reading off my credit card statement, Eddie Vedder, on that song, and I wouldn't know.
I do love that song, but yeah, it's unintelligible.
All right, I think we have some headlines to discuss.
We do. We should get into some sports talk headlines. We're still going to talk Royals baseball. Luke Grimm. We're going to play our interview from earlier this week with our guy, Luke Grimm.
I was thinking about it the other day. Like, I was not alive to watch John Hadel. I was not alive to watch the glory days in Lawrence of the Kansas Comet Gale Sayers. I know how great those dudes were. Ray Evans. Like, I know how great they were. I was only a fan from a distance for the Orange Bowl team, excuse me. Like, I know I've seen all the Todd Reesing highlights. Like, I watched a number of his games that year. I know he's a great player. He's just like not I've been around for as a student, as a media member following the team, like in my time loving KU football. I think Luke Grimm's on my Mount Rushmore. I love this dude, man. He is just so good. Has been since he was a freshman. I love talking to him too, so I'm excited for this.
We're gonna play our conversation from earlier this week with the KU senior wide receiver Luke Grimm later on this hour. But first, as promised, those 580 Sports Talk headlines, and we began with another twist in the Jamar Chase tale as he participated in the first official practice of game week for the Bengals ahead of their season opener against the Patriots on Sunday. Was listed on the participation report as limited. Came out with jersey and helmet in hand, worked out with T. Higgins and a couple of Bengals assistants. He had previously participated in a light practice on August 24th. That was the day when Zach Taylor said, yeah, he's with us and he's going to continue to be with us. And we expect him out of practice every day. And then he didn't practice the next day. And Zach Taylor had to backtrack. Zach Taylor had to say, well, apparently I was given bad information. I've been bamboozled. I've been led astray. So limited participation leaves it up for possibility that he could potentially play on Sunday, but I don't think he's playing without a contract, and this doesn't feel to me like the needle moving towards a contract extension for Jamar Chase. So hard to know what to make of this, but I guess you could read it if you're a Bengals fan as more encouraging than yesterday when he was not showing up.
I mean, they need him. Like, just what Matt Verderam told us yesterday on the show. Like you're saying, I mean, that offense, Joe Burrow's great. T. Higgins is a really good player. Their offensive line is still maybe a little iffy, but it's the best it's been in Burrow's career, I think. Jamar Chase is phenomenal. He's a great player. He can do so many things. He can be a vertical threat. You can do underneath stuff with him. You can play him outside. You can play him in the slot. I mean, he's one of the most. I'd put him right next to Jefferson. I think Chase, Jefferson, and Brown, A.J. Brown of the Eagles, are your three most versatile receivers in the league in the sense that you can just do like literally anything with them. Some guys are good at a lot of things, but if you told me, hey, I've got one of these three players on my team, what should I do with them? I would just say anything. Like if you give me like Cooper Kupp, really good. You can use him in a lot of different ways, but there's a specific way I want to use him the most. Jamar Chase, you can use him however you want, and he's going to be great at it. So yeah, they needed him back badly. Why don't we continue on with the NFL headlines today, shall we? Patrick Surtain II, PS2 is what he goes by. He wears the number 2 on his jersey. He has been made the highest paid defensive back in NFL history, agreeing to a 4-year, $96 million contract extension today with a $77.5 million guarantee. It doesn't kick in until 2026. So he is going to play out the remainder of his rookie contract this year and next. The extension will then kick in 2026 and will run through 2029. At least for now, he is the highest paid defensive back in league history. The thing about that, too, is you get a lot of flexibility with that contract. You can rearrange and restructure and move things around a bunch for a couple of years with that later on money. So that's actually a pretty good piece of business there, I think, by the Broncos. That's pretty favorable for, giving a guy $96 million and almost 78 guaranteed. Surtain's great. End of sentence. Like you can say what you want about the Broncos and their overall lack of talent. Legitimately great player.
He is their best player, and by some distance is their best player. And they have taken care of their best player. That's a good piece of business. Highest paid defensive back in the league. I would, if I were a Chiefs fan, I would familiarize myself with those numbers in the contract because that's what Trent McDuffie's next deal is going to look like, give or take.
Yeah. He's going to get a lot of money. No doubt about that.
Also, I like that Patrick Surtain's nickname is PS2 because I was still playing the PS2 the last time the Broncos were good.
I mean, in fairness, I would still bring out my PS2 right now and play some college hoops.
Wait, you were playing your PS2 in like 2015?
It's a joke, Spencer. Oh, man.
Kind of roasted your ass, though.
Walked all over my punchline. But to answer your question, the PS2 had NCAA baseball. So, yes.
Great game.
I was playing the PS2 back then.
That game had the greatest stadium builder of any sports game.
Oh, yeah.
Ever.
The MVP baseball stadium creator went crazy.
Awesome. But yeah, Patrick Surtain got his money, so Denver's keeping him around. That's really good for them because they there was talk this offseason that maybe they trade him because he's their best player. You'll get a bunch of picks. They have so many roster holes. I'm sure if you're a Bronco fan, at least now you can say, well, at least I can buy a Surtain jersey.
Yeah.
Also, I had a request.
Hang it up next to your Drew Lock jersey.
I was listening to a podcast today, Football 301 from Yahoo, and they were saying they think Drew Lock has gotten worse. Nate Tice, whose dad, Mike Tice, was a coach in the NFL for a long time, NFL tight end as well. Nate was a coach for a while, was a scout for the Falcons for a while as well. He said that first preseason snap for Drew Lock, they put in something. He was like, I could have run that right now, and I have not played since my senior year at Wisconsin when he was backing up Russell Wilson. Like, I knew exactly what to do the minute I saw them line up. And he said, you can just tell if you know the game, you could just tell through the screen, Drew Lock had absolutely no idea what he was doing.
Oh, dear.
Was just clueless. Like, they think he's gotten worse. Also, I have a request from the Top City Metal Supply text line. It says, say that again, but take the aviators off at the same time. To be fair, I don't know what I said that led to this, but if you're watching on YouTube, I will take the aviators off this time.
Spencer, first headline.
Yeah, I'm going to go off script here. I just saw this rolling through Twitter. Scott Hansen's contract with NFL Media is set to expire after this season. This was from Michael McCarthy of Front Office Sports. He had signed this contract in 2021. He noted that Hansen could draw lucrative offers from NFL broadcast partners such as NBC Sports, Fox Sports, ESPN, or Amazon Prime Video. YouTube TV was also named as a potential suitor, as it could use his addition to help YouTube or Sunday ticket subscriptions. So we could have no more Red Zone.
Yeah, here's the thing. Do you want
in a different way?
If you're the NFL, do you want Red Zone to exist?
Yeah.
Then you give Scott Hansen a blank check.
Exactly.
Scott Hansen's unbelievable. I don't watch it a ton.
What he's able to do though with himself overall, like
have you not going to the bathroom?
Have you seen his? He did a video of Steve Smith Senior. Steve Smith goes around as part of his contract and like shadows people's jobs on camera, and he shadowed Scott Hansen one Sunday. And it's just like crazy. What he does, he's like, I can't drink fluids after this amount of time. I eat this. I come in at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. and eat this big breakfast, and that's all I eat all day. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's crazy. I have Red Zone because I have NFL Plus. I subscribe to that, and you get Red Zone as part of it. I like having Red Zone as a supplement. I like one of my side screens being Red Zone. So if I'm at commercial or a game has gone south or whatever, I can just turn, see something happen, turn right back. I like that. I don't love just watching it to watch it, but it's a great product if you have an attention span even shorter than mine.
So they had the free preview weekend happened to be the Commanders bye last year. So I was like, you know what? I'll just watch it. And I literally watched it until the very end from start to finish. And, got up in between, so, got food, went to the bathroom, whatever. But I watched it and I was like, this is crazy what he does.
The thing I will give him credit for is managing to make, like, when you have like a 2-game slate and the late games are like Cardinals, Seahawks, and Broncos, Chargers, and they're both duds. Like,
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, that's kind of rough. But Scott Hansen has made himself a star, which is a hard thing to do. Did
you watch any of the Gold Zone during the Olympics?
Yes,
I heard it was really good.
Yeah,
I heard so too. I didn't watch any of it. I want to stick with one, but I heard it was great.
Yeah, it was.
He's
pretty
very talented.
Yeah, it was fun in the morning, especially like to just watch some events you wouldn't normally watch. A couple more things we got to get to today in NFL foot and mouth disease. First,
I really didn't want to talk about this. That's why I hit that other headline.
First, the Philadelphia Eagles defensive back Darius Slay issued an apology last night to the nation of Brazil, or at the very least, anyone he offended, on his Big Play Slay podcast. Why does everyone have a podcast? Who is out there like, I need to hear what Darius Slay thinks about everything? I am listening to the Big Play Slay podcast.
That's you want to make one, fine. Do your own thing. You got a day off every week, go do it. That's fine. Who is listening? Like, what do the numbers look like? This cannot be profitable for these companies.
Yeah, I wonder who's like sponsoring this. Is Darius Slay doing reads for MeUndies during the breaks, like, or BetterHelp? How's that working? Anyway,
everyone's doing ads for BetterHelp. My God.
So Darius Slay and the Eagles are heading to Brazil to play the Packers on Friday, and Darius Slay said, "Man, I do not want to go to Brazil. You want to know why? I'm here to tell you why. They already told us not to leave the hotel. They told us we can't do too much going on because the crime rate is crazy. I'm like, NFL, why y'all want to send us somewhere where the crime rate is this high and we out the country? The first thing people are thinking is like some terror could possibly happen. I told my family, do not come down there because I'm not going to be nowhere to be found," end quote. He walked those comments back on Twitter saying, "I want to apologize to anyone I offended. I'm looking forward to playing in your beautiful country." The Sao Paulo state government, the game is going to be Sao Paulo, Brazil, not in Rio de Janeiro. Sao Paulo says it has delegated specialized police battalions to reinforce security throughout the game, saying that the local homicide rate in Sao Paulo is 4 times lower than the nation average. So do with that what you will. For me, the funnier aspect of the trip down to Brazil is that no one can tweet in Brazil. Twitter is not existent in Brazil anymore.
And if you try to use a VPN to get around it, they will fine you an exorbitant amount of money.
So, like,
how are we getting updates?
Who's your favorite Packers beat writer?
Matt Schneidman.
Okay, so like Matt Schneidman cannot sit in the press box in Sao Paulo and tweet, "Jordan Love hobbled off the field after that last drive," or like Corey Ballantyne hamstring questionable to return. Like,
yeah. So
it's very funny.
What the writers have talked about doing, and I don't know if they're joking or not, is texting someone, giving their password to someone in the States, texting them, and then having them do the updates. And Matt Schneidman from The Athletic was saying, I'm going to give it to my mom and give her my Twitter password and have her tweet for me.
Also today, the Washington Commanders have suspended an employee who made comments about the team's players being anti-gay, accused Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones of being both racist and anti-gay, and called NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell a $50 million puppet. There's a lot to this story. There's video out there you can watch if you want. The vice president of content of the Commanders, Raul Entine, made comments to a woman that he thought he had met on Hinge for a date. He is talking wild out of pocket for somebody on a first or second date.
I believe it was a second date.
Second date. This is out of pocket stuff to talk about on the
but
second
to
date.
Me, I was telling him, I was like, if you watch part of the video, it's really annoying video to watch because the guy that owns that media group just kind of butts in and starts talking and then plays the video. The lady literally says, "Can you repeat that again? Can you repeat that again? Wait, you were talking about this." Like, if I was on a date, I would never, I would be like, something sketchy's going on here. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about my work anymore.
See, now, like, first date. Oh, are you into that? What shows are you watching? Like, what are you into? Oh, I like that game too. Second date, my political agenda.
Exactly. That's how normal people operate. Right. The money quote: I don't think the commissioner of the NFL hates gay people, hates black people. Jerry Jones, who really runs the NFL, I think he hates gay people, black people. End of freaking quote.
I've heard more salacious accusations
about Jerry Jones.
About Jerry Jones,
no
go ask his daughter.
So, maybe don't wild out on date number 2. I think that's the lesson for all of us to learn here.
Real quick, 2 quick things for me before we get out of headlines. Number 1, I just went to the Big Play podcast on YouTube. It is indeed sponsored by BetterHelp, the online therapy group. There's a big ad for it 30 minutes in. Also, one final headline for me. Kansas at Illinois on Saturday is a sellout. It is the first sellout for an Illinois home game in 8 years. 2016. In 2022, they were a top 20 team at one point. They have not sold out a game since 2016, and the team that got them over the line was Kansas.
Luke Grimm puts butts in seats.
Yes, fact.
And we're going to hear from Luke Grimm. We talked to him earlier this week. We're going to play that conversation for you next from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio here on 580 Sports Talk. 532 on 580 Sports Talk. Remember, folks, you can join Prairie Band Sportsbook's free NFL Survivor Pool for your chance to win up to $25,000. But you got to join before kickoff tomorrow night. prairieband.chalklinegames.com/games/survivor to play the free NFL Survivor Pool from Prairie Band Sportsbook. Earlier this week, Brendan and I had a chance to speak with senior Kansas wide receiver Luke Grimm. He was the leading receiver for the Jayhawks in their win over Lindenwood last Thursday. We asked about the season opener, having Jalen Daniels back on the field, his relationships with his wide receiver group, and so much more. Without any further ado, here's our chat with Luke Grimm.
Welcome back into 580 Sports Talk, 580 WIBW. The Kansas Jayhawks 1-0 after a comprehensive 48-3 win over Lindenwood last Thursday. Now they head out on the road to take on the Illinois Fighting Illini this coming Saturday night. Here to talk all about it is senior wide receiver Luke Grimm. And Luke, first game, what did you feel about how the offense, the first team offense, worked together? How do you feel like you guys came through that first game?
Yeah, I thought it was good. We started off a little slow. We hadn't played together in quite a long time, so we were kind of getting those cobwebs shuffled off of us. And then once that happened, we were rolling pretty smoothly. And I thought we played really well. And I thought when the ones were out and the second team came in, I thought they did amazing, as good as they could too.
You caught the long ball for the touchdown from Jalen Daniels, and I know that felt good for you. It had to. It always does when you visit the end zone. But how good did you feel for JD in that moment to be able to catch that deep ball from him and have that back on the menu, the deep pass from your number one quarterback?
Yeah, no, I know it felt awesome for him, and I was so happy for him. We were talking before the game with all the wideouts, and his biggest thing was on those deep balls. He wanted one of them where it was just, the perfect ball. You didn't have to slow down. You didn't have to speed up. And luckily I was the one on the receiving end of it, but it was just a perfect pass. I didn't have to, I didn't slow down. Guy was 2 steps behind me. It was right in the breadbasket, and I just was able to separate and score. So yeah, it's awesome having him back, and seeing him in full action is great.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on that with regards to Jalen and getting him back on the field for the first time since he had to miss a good chunk of last season. And, of course, there's all the outside noise and there's all the outside concern about how he feels, what's it going to look like when he gets back out on the field. What did you get a chance to see from him during fall camp and into week one that show not only is he maybe the same old Jalen Daniels, but he's maybe even gotten better and continue to improve?
Yeah, JD is an incredible football player. He can make throws and runs just that I have not seen from anybody else. So just to get to see him that first week of fall camp back to his regular programming where he's, making throws on the run 40 yards downfield on a dime, or he's juking people and getting 50-yard gains. That's just what he does. And I was not surprised to see it in week one of fall camp, and I was not surprised to see it week one of the season either.
Luke Grimm is our guest, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk, the senior wide receiver for the Kansas Jayhawks. You and Lawrence Arnold and Quentin Skinner comprise what we believe here on this radio program. It's one of the best wide receiver rooms, not just in the Big 12, but maybe in the country. You guys have all done tremendous things throughout your KU careers. And I know that sometimes wide receivers, they want the ball. They want to be featured in the offense. They want to be the guy that a quarterback counts on the most and gets the most catches, the most yards. It doesn't seem like that's the relationship with the three of you. How do you guys, or how have you guys cultivated that relationship over time where you all celebrate each other's successes, maybe even as much as your own?
Yeah, when we were recruited together, we got to know each other as people. And then coming in as 18-year-olds, we kind of grow up as men with each other, and whether that's like going on trips in the summers and the winters and hanging out all the time, or going to eat, catching routes with JD, catching routes with the other quarterbacks during the summer. We just get to build a really strong relationship, and like we all know that one of us is going to have a good game every game, and it doesn't matter who it is, because as long as we're winning and as long as a team we're producing for our team, all of us are happy. And whether that's me, Dev, JD, Q, LJ, Jared, Trevor, any of the other wide receivers, it's just like, as long as we're contributing to our team's win, everybody's going to be happy.
What are some of the things that you guys have done as a wide receiver unit? You mentioned going on trips, going out to eat. Is there like a weekly ritual? Is there a summer trip or something? What kind of things have you guys been able to do is a sort of a form of bonding?
Yeah, so during the season with Coach Samuel, he has us come over usually every Thursday, and we'll watch the Thursday night football game. So we'll probably go this Thursday for the Chiefs Ravens, watch the game, eat food with his family, and just hang out as a group for, a couple hours. And then, we, after games, we'll all go out and eat together. We'll all go, after film, we'll go play golf with each other, stuff like that. And then during the off season, sometimes we'll go train in the same area. And so we'll all go hang out after we train, or like for spring break this year, me, JD, Q, and Devin, and a couple other guys on the team, we were all in Fort Lauderdale, and we just spent a week down there hanging out on the beach together. So really just bonding with your friends, because like we're teammates, but at the end of the day, we're pretty much family because we hang out with each other so much.
Luke Grimm is our guest, starting wide receiver for the Kansas Jayhawks, KC native here on 580 Sports Talk. Illinois versus KU, huge game coming up in Champaign this weekend. And Luke, this room for you guys, obviously incredibly talented. Finally, after years of producing, the rest of the college football world and the Big 12 have realized how good you guys are. But for being a KU legacy, someone who grew up a KU fan, you're from Kansas City, from the area. I don't know how much you pay attention to this, but it is not without, it's pretty obvious that if you keep producing at this level, you're going to end up top 3, maybe top 2 in most receiver categories in KU history. When you think about that, if you do, what does that say to you, being someone who has cared about this program for as long as you have?
I just think it's really cool that it's, it's special that I get to be a part of these teams and be able to do that for this university. It's not something I think about often, but when people bring it up, I think it is very special to be able to say, like, not that I've done that on my own, but that through these years and this team is built, that I've been able to do that to help this team progress from, 0-9 my freshman year to 9-4 last year. And then whatever we go this year, I can say that I was part of that and I got to grow into that person, that whatever on the list or whatever record board, I can say that I grew from 0-9 to whatever and whatever this year.
What does it mean to you to be a part of that turnaround? And I'm sure you hear from students or alumni or fans all the time, like, this is incredible. Like when I was in school, Luke, KU won 8 games in 4 years. Like the fact that you guys are playing at this level now, it's almost hard for me to wrap my head around. How much does it mean to you to know you have been, and this whole receiver group has been such a core part of turning this program around?
Yeah, it means a lot to all the everybody in my class and the class below me, all of us older guys on the team. A lot of people could have jumped ship, especially when the whole coaching staff changed. And, a lot of us believed in what Coach Leipold said from the moment he got here and his staff. And so to be able to be that turnaround and, get this new stadium and all the new facilities and, XYZ that's coming to KU now, it's just awesome to see and to be able to say, like, later on in life, like, I was part of that. I made that happen. And these guys that I grew here with made this happen.
We're speaking with Luke Grimm, senior wide receiver for the Kansas Jayhawks here on 580 Sports Talk. Couple more quick ones for you, Luke. First, have to ask about the atmosphere. Playing at Children's Mercy Park last Thursday, fans showed up, filled it up, about 21,000 there in attendance. What was that atmosphere like?
Yeah, it was awesome. I've been there for soccer games, and a lot of the guys obviously haven't, especially if they're not native to Kansas City. So they were a little concerned with the number of people that were coming to the game. But, I was just telling them that, in a football stadium, it's, the fans are away from you. But in those kind of stadiums, they're right on top of you. So even though it was 20,000, it felt like a lot more. And the fact that our fans came from Lawrence, from Missouri, from all over, it was just awesome to have a sold-out stadium, have them all cheering for us. And, when the crowd pops happened, it was just as loud as it was when we're in the booth or when we're in another stadium.
And the last thing I have for you, Luke, it's a non-football question, but I feel like it is extremely important because you will graduate and you will one day leave the campus at the University of Kansas for the final time. But what's the last thing you've got to do meal-wise? What's your last meal going to be in Lawrence? Or if you've got a favorite spot, like you got to hit it one more time before you get out of town, what would it be?
I think I would have to go to Johnny's Tavern for my last meal. My girlfriend works there. Devin, he's one of my best friends. His girlfriend works there. And I'd probably either have to get one of the burgers or one of those big 18-inch pizzas and just sit down and soak it in, because I went there for Hawk Talks when there was nobody that would really show up, and now it's pretty much packed, and it's really fun to be there. So that would probably be my last meal as a KU football player / student.
Well, soak it up and drink it in. You've more than earned it, and I know you'll do more to earn it as this season goes along. Luke Grimm, senior wide receiver for the Kansas Jayhawks, joining us. Luke, a pleasure speaking with you. Best of luck in Champaign this Saturday and throughout the season.
Thank you so much.
That was Luke Grimm. Brendan and I chatted with him earlier this week. Appreciate him taking the time. And, man, he's good in the open field. He's good over the top. He's good along the sideline if you need to make a connection on 3rd and 8, move the chains. Like, there's nothing he can't do as a wide receiver. And I think there's an NFL future for Luke Grimm. I really do.
I mean, look, white guy, not super tall, not the fastest. Like, if Bill Belichick was still around, he'd be a 7th rounder of the Patriots right now. You could pencil it in. But like, he's got ball skills. It's not like he's slow. I mean, he's faster than Hunter Renfrow, who had a nice 6-year career. Like, there is real skill there. Plus, he can return punts.
Yeah.
I hope so, because he deserves it. He has worked his ass off. His story, Jesse Newell wrote about this when he was still on the KU beat. He going to KU. Do you remember when he committed to KU? They told him essentially like, hey, he was a Beatty recruit originally. And they were going to make him, I believe, I don't remember if it was gray shirt or blue shirt. Essentially, it was like, hey, man, you're going to have to pay your way for a semester. And
that's a gray shirt, I think.
With the promise that you'll get put on after the season ends, which was not what he originally had agreed to. And I remember it was like, yeah, he ain't coming. Like, there's no way this kid's going to follow through on this. But Les Miles came in and was like, no, we want him. Like, let's make sure we get this guy on campus. And he stuck it out. And there's a very real chance. And I told him during that interview, he needs to have just like a decent season. Not great, just a decent season. He's going to finish 2nd in receptions, yards, and touchdowns in KU history. There's a non-zero chance that Grimm and Lawrence Arnold are number 2 and number 3 in all 3 of those categories when their career is over.
Amazing.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Desmond Briscoe, pretty good.
Yeah. As it
pretty
turns
good
out.
player.
Yeah, he's got those. He's got some of those records in the upper deck.
Well, and played with some pretty good quarterbacks.
Yeah,
like JD didn't play a whole lot for a lot of his career, and Jason Bean. I mean, I love the guy forever, but like, not always great quarterback play for these dudes.
No,
Arnold also he entered the portal. He's like, I'm out, and then they recruited him to come back, and he's gonna go down in the history books as an all-time KU great. I love this room, man. I really, really do.
We'll take a quick break here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back, preview tonight's Royals tilt. Can they stop the skid tonight? Can they staunch the bleeding? We'll talk about it next from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 Sports Talk. It is not a must-win for the Kansas City Royals tonight in the context of the playoff race. The Royals still have a 4.5-game cushion and a magic number of 19 to make the playoffs. They are a game back of Minnesota for second place in the Central, 2 back in the loss column. The Royals still are in the catbird seat to reach October for the first time since 2015. However, I think it may be a must-win for the sake of the sanity, the well-being of Royals fans everywhere, and maybe even for the well-being of that clubhouse. They've got to find a way to get one over the line. If I may paraphrase Jim Morris Sr., we're talking about playoffs. I just hope we can win a game. That kind of has to be the attitude tonight for the Royals. Just forget about what the standings say. Go win an inning. Go win a game.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Royals tonight will roll out the following lineup against Cleveland's Ben Lively. It will be Tommy Pham leading off in right field, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Salvador Perez at first, MJ Melendez hitting cleanup tonight, Paul DeJong at third, batting fifth. Robbie Grossman makes his first start as a Royal. Did nobody tell did nobody tell Matt Cotrero that Robbie Grossman is not supposed to bat against right-handed pitching? Like it's
I don't know if Quatrero's back.
I believe he is.
Okay.
His mother passed away.
Yeah,
very sad. Condolences to the Quatrero family and to Matt Quatrero, but I believe he is back. Robbie Grossman against left-handed pitching, 281 average, 387 on base, 438 slug. Robbie Grossman against righties, 172, 277, 207. That is the difference of like 350 points of OPS. But maybe they've got numbers that say Lively can't get lefties out. Grossman is a switch hitter. So we'll see how that goes. He's DHing and batting sixth. Michael Massey bats seventh. Freddie Fermin eighth. Kyle Isbell ninth. And it is Seth Lugo on the mound. Really good his last time out against Houston. Unfortunately for Lugo, in the second half, the trend has been good start, bad start. He's got to string together 2 good starts.
Mm-hmm.
And look, like right now, the way the Royals are going offensively, they might need to throw a shutout. And that's a lot to put on a starting pitcher.
That's an extreme amount.
When you have the offense struggling, it's a stress test for the pitching staff. And when the pitching staff struggles, it's a stress test for the offense. And it gets to be difficult to put together a quality 9 innings and shake hands at the end of it. But the Royals just have to find a way. They have grinded out games before this season, and they got to grind one out tonight against a pitcher that I think they should be able to get after in Ben Lively, who's got an ERA near 5 in his last 7 starts.
Did you see what Bobby Witt Jr. said earlier today in his locker?
I did not.
It's a 20-second clip from Aaron Ladd at KSHB. Can I play it?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. He's talking about the losing streak.
No, he's right about that.
Yeah.
Well, like we talked about yesterday, 7-game losing streak for the Royals. Both Cleveland and Minnesota have had 7-game losing streaks this season. Just again, the timing of it with the stakes rising and the calendar flipping to September, timing of it could be better. But every team goes through something like this. Doesn't make it any easier to go through it when you're watching it. Doesn't make it any easier to watch, but maybe it makes it easier on those guys in the clubhouse to know, hey, look, we're in a funk, but the beautiful thing about baseball is today's game doesn't care about last night's game. It doesn't. Momentum is only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. And if Seth Lugo can go out, give him 6-7 quality innings, Royals can find a way to push some runs across, manufacture some runs, keep the line moving, whatever it is they got to do. They got a chance to get out of it tonight. And here's hoping that they do, because I would like to talk about some happy Royals things tomorrow instead of playing Third Eye Blind again. We will take a break.
I do love Third Eye Blind.
Yeah, good band. Stephen Jenkins not a great guy, but good band. Also on the show tomorrow, lots of Chiefs stuff because, the NFL season starts tomorrow. So we're going to do a lot of Chiefs on the program tomorrow. You can rest assured that. Right now, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up 580 Sports Talk after this. Wrapping up and walking off with the final word on this edition of 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Spencer Dupuis, what's your final word?
Yeah, Bobby Wood Jr. said it in that quote. He'd rather have it happen now than get swept out of the playoffs. Essentially, they just need to stop the bleeding. And I think it's one day at a time, one game at a time, and maybe Grossman's the guy to do it. Even though, based upon what you said, probably not. But you gotta give him something, right? You claimed him off waivers, so you got to see what he can do.
Brendan Drzinski, final word.
My final word is that, they say you can't buy happiness, but I disagree because I have a cool pair of aviators and I have this sick Big 8 conference jacket and I'm cooler than I've ever been in my entire life. I look badass and people find me now irresistible.
You make 30 look good, big dog.
Yeah, I'm hot.
Or is this a midlife crisis? Who's to say?
Hopefully not quite.
Final word for me, Dan Lucero, today is that tomorrow is the start of the NFL season, and we are almost there. You have made it. You have survived. The America's Game about the Chiefs is on NFL Network tonight for anybody who might want to watch that and live in that moment one more time, but it will be time to put that book upon the shelf next to the other 2 Super Bowl titles in this Mahomes era and start to try and write a new chapter of Chiefs football. Can't wait to talk all about it on tomorrow's show. We hope you'll join us. Until then, for Spencer and Brendan, I'm Dan. This has been 580 Sports Talk. Deuces.